There are two types of business owners, those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
LarsLarson.com, LarsLarsonShow.com, Instagram, Facebook, all sorts of places. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Getting ready to, celebrate America and everything else. And you, Lars, how are you? Another weekend at the ranch?
I'm doing very well. Last week I had a little bit of laryngitis, and so do you know how tough it is for me to sit and do? I mean, I can be doing things like we did a bunch of construction work this weekend, but without saying anything at all. No talking.
Well, and having seen you in the live broadcasting, I mean, you got the booming voice, bro. So I felt for you as I was listening last week.
Well, and so what I did is I decided to take a couple of days off. People said, "You're celebrating Juneteenth," and I said, "Well, no." Although I have to tell you something, Kevin. I know the left wants to celebrate Juneteenth. We really should, because think about what it is. It's when a Republican president decided to grant the Emancipation Proclamation, and the final word of it reached Galveston, Texas. That is a tremendous victory when the Republicans freed the slaves that had been held by the Democrats. I think that's something to celebrate, don't you?
Oh, and I so agree with you. And, we talk about how the left is with this sad undercurrent during America's 250. Well, this was this and this is this. And I'm like, you take a look at the Civil War, and if that doesn't show you the beauty of America, the sacrifice, and then the Civil Rights Movement, I don't know what does.
No, and in fact, you have to see that, is there any other country on earth that has fought so expensive a war? And I don't mean expensive in dollar terms. I mean expensive in blood. The blood that was shed to settle that issue of both states' rights and the issue of slavery, because it was both. There were a number of issues all wrapped up into what happened in the Civil War, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But that was a tremendous sacrifice that this country made to make today happen. And I know there are people who say, well, but the Constitution was written and the founders didn't follow it. The Constitution was an aspirational document. And what I mean by that is it's something you aspire to. And Kevin, I've been reminded of this because I think I've told you this last weekend. I was up at this little farm we bought almost 2 years ago. September 20th will be 2 years. And when we bought it, it was 8 acres and a literally falling down farmhouse that had not had anybody living in it for 14 years. And you say, what does that have to do with the Constitution? We bought it and we said, we think we can make this into something. And not because I can write the big checks, because I can't write the big checks, but my family and I said, we will do the construction work, most of it. We hired some of it, but we will do the work, and we aspire to make it a wonderful place. And it's getting there after almost 2 years now of every single weekend up there working, the family and everybody else working and pouring concrete and cutting boards and framing walls and replacing things that were broken and worn out. After almost 2 years, it is getting there. That's what I think the founders did, was they wrote. You wouldn't have wanted them to write a constitution that merely said, this is the way things are today, and we think they should probably stay that way indefinitely. You wrote a document that said, this is the way we hope they will be, that all people will be treated equally under the law, that all have God-given rights that are protected from government interference. That's an aspirational, and think about it, Kevin, don't you hope that every American is aspirational, that every 18-year-old man or woman says, I hope to become X. Now, at 18, they're not there yet. If they hope to become a plumber, an electrician, if they hope to become a contractor, if they hope to become a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or an accountant, they're not there yet, but they aspire to be those things. And if you say, well, aspirations don't matter, yes, they do. And the left seems to think that if you wrote a constitution that didn't immediately go into effect, which wasn't even possible at the time that the Bill of Rights was written, then it's a failure because it didn't immediately produce a fair and just America.
My favorite is the people that rip on America that have benefited from America. Anyway, we could go on, but let me get up to our great friend Lars Larson. So, Lars, what I love about you is, A, you're a real man and you're working on the weekends. B, you do two shows. Yeah. So you do two shows, which is fascinating because you put both your heart and soul into both those shows. But, and obviously your television background, your journalism background, but what do you make of the libs, the loons, focusing in on the reflecting pool as opposed to what we've heard recently out of Switzerland, that the deal is moving along, although bumpy, the deal is moving along?
The Iran deal?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? You mean the Iran deal, right? And the only thing that concerns me is whether or not we end up with effectively the same deal that Obama tried to sell Americans on. And I am concerned about that because I'm concerned that we've given away a lot and we don't have any guarantee at this point that we're going to get what we want, which is a nuclear-free Iran. I'm not sure we're going to get there. So let me be skeptical. Because I'm concerned that we get something different than what we got under Obama. And all the way along, I've been saying that I think that Trump will deliver something better than what the Obama deal was. But I am concerned because at this point we see that, in fact, as of this hour, is the Strait of Hormuz open again or not? Or are the Iranians still playing that game?
Exactly. And, again, we hear that they've allowed nuclear inspections. We'll see. But the focus on the pool, everything is the reflecting pool, Lars.
Yeah.
And like I said, you've been to D.C. so many times. By the way, let me just share one thing with what I love about you, Lars. And you've forgotten about this. But there have been two cool nights in D.C. One was with you and me and Dave Ellswick of Arkansas. And yes, and we're sitting there, and then Matt Gaetz is next door, and I've talked to the story that you go over and talk to him when he's with a very cosmetically appealing young lady, and that was so cool. And then, like, our first time we hung out it was you, me, and Rusty Humphreys, and we went to this place in Georgetown, and, I could barely move, so you guys felt sorry for me. We'll get in a taxi for Kevin. And then here we are in this Italian place, Rusty's talking about all sorts of things, and then we end up at the Wall. Just one of those incredible historic nights in D.C.
Wasn't that amazing to be at the Wall? Yeah. Well, I will say this about the pool. Do you know what I suspect happened with the pool? And I'd love to see it confirmed, is that somebody has apparently tested the water. I know CNN tested the water, and they said it has a very high level of phosphates in it. Well, do you know where phosphates would generally come from? Everybody who's a farmer out in your audience knows this. It's fertilizer. You say, well, why would there be fertilizer in the pool? Well, depending on, the slope there would not lend itself to phosphates from, say, the lawns nearby getting into the pond. But if somebody wanted to sabotage that pond, all they'd have to do is find a way to sneak some first phosphate fertilizer into it, and that would cause an algae bloom. And isn't it amazing that this algae bloom has happened very quickly? And I'm told that when they tested the water, they found a high level of phosphates. Does that mean that somebody deliberately sabotaged it, saying this has worked out so well for Trump? It makes him look good because he did much less expensively a reworking of that pond to clean up a disgusting, and it was a disgusting situation, for a relatively small amount of money, and using money from the National Parks Fund to be able to do it, which is an appropriate use of the money. And then all of a sudden there's an algae bloom. Why did that happen? And I think they've actually arrested at least one person for attempting to sabotage that. Now, Kevin, ask yourself this. What does it take for someone to say, I hate a president so much, a president who was chosen by a majority of Americans, that I'm willing to deliberately try to sabotage his efforts to make America great? What does that say?
The liberal loons. And, of course, here's a strange thing, Lars. You and I worked through Obama. In fact, one of the wildest things was Barack Obama was the most divisive president in our lifetime, it seems. And yet now he seems mild compared to today. What do you make of the people revising the Obama legacy with his presidential library opening?
Oh, they're trying to, because by the way, that library has to be one of the ugliest. And I'm not a connoisseur of architecture, but I think that library has to be one of the ugliest buildings I have ever seen. And I'm not even sure what to compare it to, because it is just an ugly building. But perhaps it represents well the ugly legacy of a president like Obama.
It does make you wonder. Our great friend Lars Larson joining us. Catch him today at 4. Lars always working for you when he's not working on the farm or the ranch. Appreciate that, even though his voice is coming back. Some great political insight. Speaking of which, what do you make of, and Lars, what I love about you, and I mean this sincerely and legitimately, not kissing the ring, but I'm going to kiss the ring, is you believe in a set of standards to be a good husband, a good father, a good grandfather, a good role model, a good friend to Sir Winston. And on the other hand, we have this guy in Maine that all the Democrats are going, well, he's a good Maine person. And I've been to Maine. Maine, they're interesting people, number one. But number two, we go back to the Republicans. I think it was Roy Moore, and they did not support him when he won the nomination. They allowed Doug Jones to win that Senate seat, where the Democrats are all in on this Plattner guy. What do you make of it?
I don't get it, because Plattner seems, in almost all of his behavior, seems to be a very ugly character. He pretends to be an average blue-collar Mainer. He is, in fact, a kid who's benefited well from his parents' wealth. And I don't mind parents helping kids, but when you say I'm just an average person, but Dad gave me $200,000 for the down payment on my house, I have an oyster farm that really only exists because my main customer is my mom's restaurant. He seems like a phony. And I would hope that any time Republicans see a phony like this, that we call them out. And I know there are people, Kevin, who would say, well, what about Donald Trump? He got some money from his dad. He got millions. It may have even been tens of millions. But even if you grant them that, Kevin, how many people do you know who could take $10 million and grow it into $1 billion? That's a rare person in America, because there are kids who grow up rich and mom and dad leave them 10 or 20 or $50 million, and they don't turn it into much of anything. They spend it. That's what the majority of people would do with that kind of inheritance. Donald Trump turned it into multiple billions of dollars and has done very, very well. And if people say, well, but he's gone bankrupt, his companies, not him personally, have gone bankrupt a couple of times, you say, yes. If you go online, this is a fun one to look at if people haven't done it. Look up famous, wealthy business owners who've gone bankrupt. It's almost all of them. They've had businesses that go bankrupt. Apple Computer came very close, or Apple came very close to going bankrupt. And you go, why? Because they kicked Steve Jobs off the board. I don't particularly like Steve Jobs, but he's kind of a creepy character. He's passed away now, but he was a creepy character. He's mean to his friends, but he was brilliant when it came to business. So did he pull Apple back from the edge of bankruptcy? Yeah. And now they're a very, very successful company. Try to find somebody who's very successful, who's never had a company go bankrupt. If you don't go bankrupt, it's because, or if you don't even come close, it's probably because you haven't been pushing the limits hard enough. Because anybody who goes out there and actually takes the risks that business always involves is going to end up getting close, on occasion, to going upside down. Upside down meaning you're taking in less money than you're spending. And that's one of those phenomena that you have to take into account. Trump has done that. And yet people call that a criticism of Trump to say, well, he's had some companies go bankrupt. Yes, many, many, many successful people have. So what?
Well, no, and that's the funniest thing. When anytime somebody brings up Plattner, they go, what about the president? We're not talking about the president. We're talking about Plattner, who, again, name any Republican that could get away with a Nazi tattoo.
The Nazi tattoo, the nasty comments about women, the nasty comments online, all these other things that he has done. And why would the Democrats stand behind that guy? As you said, it's because I don't think the Democrats have any standards. If they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all.
Lars, anything else you'd like to share with us today? I know.
No, I'll tell you what, we're going to share it all on the show tonight, and I'm so glad to be on KIDO, and I love getting calls from your fans, Kevin. I absolutely love it.
No, we love you, and we always love the shout-outs. And Lars, one day we'll get you here. I know you've been to Idaho. And by the way, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you going to the amusement park this year, or have you been there already?
We're going to go to Silverwood, and I don't know if you can say Silverwood, but I can say Silverwood. We're going to take my granddaughter to Silverwood. She loves Silverwood, and do you know what the best thing is? Because she isn't into politics, and we don't push politics on her. But Silverwood is basically everything Disney has without the woke, without the DEI, without the CRT, without the political correctness. It is politically incorrect, and it's funny because standing in line at Silverwood over multiple summers as we've taken her there year after year, we'll run into people from Seattle, we'll run into people from other big cities, and they're almost all there because they say, this is like having what Disney used to be, except it doesn't have to be politically correct, and it's wonderful.
Lars, we appreciate you. Thank you for your time again, sir.
You bet. Take care, Kevin.
Our great friend Lars Larson, always appreciate him today at 4 on 580 KIDO. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Boom. Lindsay?
I think it's going to fail. What happens next? I spent 4.5 hours with President Trump Friday. Here's what I think will happen next. If this deal fails, President Trump is going to take the Strait of Hormuz over by force. The United States will control the Strait of Hormuz. We'll charge a fee for all those who go through to pay for the operation. And we're going to expand the Abraham Accords in calendar year 2026. We're going to get Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords, and which is the biggest change in 5,000 years in the Mideast. And if Iran contests control of the Strait of Hormuz by the United States, we will obliterate them. So to all the people listening, if this diplomatic effort fails, President Trump is going to take the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. We're going to run it. We're going to try to get Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords to end the Arab-Israeli conflict in 2026. And if Iran continues to attack Israel and Lebanon, the new policy will be we'll hit Iran. So to the Iranians, if you're listening, when you use Hezbollah to attack Israel, I think the new policy will be we will attack Iran.
Let's get to that in a minute. And anything else you'd like to say in reaction to our great friend Lars Larson? Kevin Miller, you're listening to 580 KIDO. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I can't thank you enough for all of the outstanding, nice comments that we received over the weekend during our weekend tour of Boise Music Festival tickets and Walmart and Swire Coca-Cola, and just really thank everyone who stopped by and got won tickets or really basically just talked about the program. And there was one man and his wife, beautiful wife, and a friend. And we were at the 10 Mile Walmart yesterday, and he's the Hat Man. And I hope the Hat Man's listening. And he said, I listen to you, nothing but you. I go, oh, man, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll try to live up to that. And people talking about Clay and Buck, and then one lady goes, well, I listen to you, but I listen to the Christians, and then I'm back to you and the Christians, and then Sean's driving me crazy. Well, but I still listen. I said, well, thank you. That's how you can support local talk radio, is by listening. We really appreciate that. We understand you have a lot of choices, both on the dial and, let's see, on the internet and everything else. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of the over 100 years of local broadcasting, not only in Boise, but in the state of Idaho. This station, the first radio station, the first media station in Idaho. That is our legacy, and we do our very best to protect the mantle and to continue the mantle so that it is stronger to give to our successors, which is what everybody tries to do, right? But I do want to thank everyone for just incredible positive feedback. Thank you. We are giving away tickets to the Boise Music Festival, but it's the week of, so you got to come on the air and you got to go 580-KIDO. And like I said, if other people start doing this, you know where they got the idea. But with respect, 580-KIDO. We would love for you to win tickets to the music festival. And like I said, just a remarkable weekend. Another note of encouragement, we're down 124. I just got my lab results back from Dr. Lyle at Peak Health, Idaho. And I'm just like you. I am totally just like you. It's Friday morning. I think, yeah, that video is available at Kevin Miller Show and Fat to Back, where I detail the stress test at Peak Health Idaho. And I tell you, we did that High Desert Harley Day, High Desert Harley. That's Sunday. I'm all over the place. But when you get the test results, the blood work, I totally, hopefully, am reflecting what you go through. We're told to take care of our health, and then we've got to get the blood work, and then we've got to do a stress test, and then we've got to, all of a sudden, we lose control of our lives. I will tell you that's why we're documenting, and look, I might not make it, but I know I'm not going to make it because Dr. Lyle failed, or Sean failed, or Beverly failed at peakhealthidaho.com. I tell you, I did this VO2 max. I did one of those before in Salt Lake City, and it scared the heck out of me. This one was great, and we have that all documented, and I will be releasing that video. I tell you, it's very powerful. I'm down 124, but I'm just beginning, and we're going to document these last few measures. So I urge you to take care of yourself, and I understand being uncomfortable. I really understand it because I just went through it. But you're going to be better on the other side. We need you now more than ever. Phone number's here, 580-KIDO. Back to what Lindsey Graham had to say. And Lindsey fired up. He was on Face the Nation, not to be confused with Meet the Press.
Let's try a diplomatic solution. I think it's going to fail. What happens next? I spent 4.5 hours with President Trump Friday. Here's what I think will happen next. If this deal fails, President Trump is going to take the Strait of Hormuz over by force. The United States will control the Strait of Hormuz. We'll charge a fee for all those who go through to pay for the operation. And we're going to expand the Abraham Accords in calendar year 2026. We're going to get Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords, and which is the biggest change in 5,000 years in the Mideast. And if Iran contests control of the Strait of Hormuz by the United States, we will obliterate them. So to all the people listening, if this diplomatic effort fails, President Trump is going to take the Strait of Hormuz. Yep. We're going to run it. We're going to try to get Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords to end the Arab-Israeli conflict in 2026. And if Iran continues to attack Israel and Lebanon, the new policy will be we'll hit Iran. So to the Iranians, if you're listening, when you use Hezbollah to attack Israel, I think the new policy will be we will attack Iran.
Why is the national media not reflecting what Lindsey Graham said? Why are they talking about the reflective pool? Why are they talking about silliness?
Abraham Accords to end the Arab-Israeli conflict in 2026. And if Iran continues to attack Israel and Lebanon, the new policy will be we'll hit Iran. So to the Iranians, if you're listening, when you use Hezbollah to attack Israel, I think the new policy will be we will attack Iran.
Wow. More on that in a minute. Let's go to our 580-KIDO phone lines, and we have a contestant. Ba-da-da-da-da, It is Sandra. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm living the dream. So here we are. You want tickets to the Boise Music Festival, young lady. Is that correct?
Yes, I heard you're giving them away.
Yes. Now, who would you like to see?
We're excited for Marshmallow.
Oh, yeah. Do you know anything about that guy?
He wears a big marshmallow on his head?
Yes, he does. He's a marshmallow. So, to win that family 4-pack, do you know what you have to do?
No.
Okay, so you're on the radio right now, live at 580-KIDO. So what you have to do is you have to say 580-KIDO for 10 seconds. And you've got to say that at least for 5 or 6 of them. You got to get in. And really, you could say it if you really sell it, like 580-KIDO. I know it's ridiculous, but you're going to see Marshmallow for free with 3 other of your friends or family members. So I'm going to count you down. Now, are you comfortable with this, Sandra?
I'm excited.
Okay. My girl. Okay, so here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go, go, go.
580 KIDO. 580 KIDO. 580 KIDO. 580 KIDO. 580 KIDO.
Okay, how about one more time and really scream it?
580 KIDO.
Oh, congratulations. Outstanding.
Woo!
Outstanding. Woo! Now, was that the easiest way to win four tickets to see Marshmello?
Yes, I thought you were going to ask me a hurt question.
Oh, no. No. Sandra, congratulations. You're going to the Boise Music Festival.
Yeah.
Okay, please hang on.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. You hang on, please. Okay? Okay. We're going to send her. By the way, Scotty won in the morning, but he said KIDO 580, but Sandra just kicked it out of the park. Great job. I just got his book, Rock Bottoms to the River Bottoms, or whatever it's called. Great book. And love Don from the Rescue Mission. And really hope that you can go and support him by buying the book. $1 of the proceeds go to support veterans and folks at the Boise Rescue Mission. Like I said, it's funny. I'm one of these people. I collect books. And you want to talk about depreciation. When they're saying depreciation, there's depreciation with cars, depreciation with houses, although probably not in Idaho. The funny thing about this is books depreciate. You know, you buy a book for $20 and it's worth $1. Anyway, not Don's. From River Bottoms to Rock Bottoms and Back, a veteran's memoir of addiction, accountability, and revitalization. Thank you, Don, for that. But I did purchase it on Amazon. Very easy. And Don Lineberry, I believe is how you pronounce Don's last name. And Roll Tide Roll. Don, excellent book. Great job. We are rolling. And despite what the media says, there is some good news coming out of Iran or Switzerland. And maybe it's the same old, same old. I love the Lindsey Graham quote. I can't play it enough because we have the media that is focused in on the reflecting pool. They're never going to give us a lot of credit. They're never going to give us any type of effort for this. But basically, Lindsey Graham says, hey, I think this deal is going to fail. But when it does, boom, 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 time to shake the room. Think about that. So I believe they've agreed to have the IEA come in. So the IEA will be coming in, and that's a start. But we want the Americans. We want the Americans to check everything and get it going. And your comments are welcome. I could play the Lindsey Graham clip again. You might be tired of it. You can join Sandra, who just won tickets to the music festival by just doing what she did, calling in and saying 580 KIDO. However, what about canceling? Let's get non-political for a moment. What about canceling student loan debt? What about, shouldn't we just give everybody a break that went to college? I mean, what if you didn't go to college? Well, then you're going to pay for it. I was talking to a great guy. He and his wife moved here from Twin Falls. They lived in California, came back, raised a great family. And we were talking about the unaffordability in Idaho and the taxes that keep going up and up and up. And when you're at a Walmart, like I said, you get a totally incredible vibe of what people think. And if you ever want to do a focus group, I would do it at people at Walmart on Saturdays or Sundays. And I was talking to this guy, nice man, listens to the program. Like I said, he and his wife were telling me about going to class reunions. I think I just missed my 40th. But just about how the state has changed. And here we have property taxes being raised all the time. People want to give the mayor an atta-girl for lowering her tax hike from 4% to, 2% or 2.5%? And he was talking about, the cost of things. And then I had another kid saying, the people from California have ruined it for me because the housing prices are just, I can't buy a house. And tomorrow, Dave Petzel will say it's the circle of life. We've all been through that. But what about student loan debt? And the point I'm trying to make is I think in some states you get a break after 65. You don't have to pay property taxes if you're, been in your house for so many years. Why not do that here? Oh, because people over 65 make a lot of money. We're going to tax them. But people over 65 don't have kids in schools. They already paid for it, which was the point the gentleman made to me. With that in mind, what about student loan debt? Is it time to cancel student loan debt?
Iran, we could have.
Here is a guy that's going to be running for president. His name is Ro Khanna. He's a congressman from California.
Not canceling student loan debt, because a lot of people say, and I would agree with this, it sort of helps the better off people. I mean, the person who doesn't go to college is now going to subsidize the person who's going to make a lot more money because they did go to college. It doesn't seem actually like a progressive thing to do.
I took out a lot of student loans. I've done well. They shouldn't forgive student loans for people like me. But if you're working class, you're first in your family to go to college, you have all this debt, and then you're paying off your debt until you're 50 or 60 and can't get a house, we can pay off that debt. And you know how we pay for it? Tax Elon Musk. Tax the billionaires. You're not taxing the blue-collar guys. Here's Bill what obsessed me. Think of, I represent 1/3 of this nation's wealth. In a 50-mile radius, $20 trillion.
Is that right?
1/3 of the nation's wealth is in my 50-mile radius. Stock market is 70 trillion, 20 trillion. We're producing more wealth than ever before. And you're telling me we can't have health care and free college for Americans? If Americans, when I go out and I speak and I say Elon Musk has become a trillionaire, usually people just boo. And I was like, why is that? Why aren't they cheering?
So before we get lost in the minutia, a lot of people are criticizing the Idaho Launch Program because essentially we're giving away free education for people that are going to make a significant amount of money. Now, if you're a poor person and this is your opportunity, so be it. And it proves my point, we've become a socialist nation. We truly have become a socialist nation because we are subsidizing education, we're subsidizing business. We've become a nation seeking entitlement, not driven by initiative. And in doing that, have we not hurt ourselves? I understand a social safety net for those that need it. Student loan debt, you want to solve student loan debt? Cap the interest rate. Cap the interest rate. Because the compounding interest just kills people. And really, like they're supposed to do with the gambling, and we want to keep gambling out of Idaho because it's horrible, it's stupid, it's detrimental. What's the problem with gambling? Talk about the people that have been addicted to gambling and how it's taken over the sports industry and how you don't know if games are legit now because of gambling. But you want to talk about student loan debt and how to solve it, cap the interest rate. Have a disclaimer like they are supposedly doing for the gambling sites. You can get this money, but 30 or 40 years from now, you still have to pay this money. Now, maybe you're an achiever. Maybe you're a bright person. Maybe you're going to make the right not make the right choices as a young person, unlike yours truly. And you're going to take that gamble because young people have this thing called time, which makes them invulnerable. But eventually time catches up to you. See Kobe Bryant, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, and LeBron, I don't know his middle name, James. Time catches up with all of us. Repeat after me. I'm going to it. Father Time is unbeaten. And so you can go to the University of Nebraska. You can go to the University of Alabama. You can go to USC, but it's going to cost you a ton of money. And 6 months after you graduate, you're not going to be making a lot of money, but you start to pay. You want real reform? Take a look at that and how much money is being made by whoever gives these loans out, whether it's the government or not, in the interest payments. It really is, again, something non-political. And maybe that's why the independents vibe is growing so much. Here's a couple non-political stories. It goes against the big money interests that fund the Democrats and the Republicans, but reform student loan programs. And after so many years and after so many payments, take a look at, after 60, reduce the interest payments if people are still paying in their 60s. Yeah, hold people accountable, but do it in a way that's smart. Remember President Trump was talking about he was going to reduce credit card loans. You want to do something really smart? How about 10% interest? How about 5% interest? Because do you really need to make all that money? Now, here I sound like a socialist, but you want to really give a boost to the American economy since we buy everything on credit now? 25% interest rate, and if you're good, 20%? Are you kidding me? How about 15? How about 10? If I were, maybe the defaults are so great you can't fund it, but if I were starting a credit card company, I'd undercut all of them. Well, you can't do that. Who says? I'd get the Saudis to fund me. Why not? But instead, we have this guy. Instead of solving the problem, what do the loons do? They vilify the people that are successful. And by the way, with all due respect to Elon Musk, he's got a lot of government contracts.
Because they aren't getting anything out of it.
But the politics, though, are risky. It's one thing to expand community college access, make that free, perhaps make, some state universities free. But what Bill's talking about is the politics of telling a blue-collar guy, hey, your taxpayer dollars are going to forgive some college smartass. He's not paying his loans back. He's like, well, how's that helping me, man?
Yeah, because
it's so risky.
Because that's the Republican frame. What we got to tell you is the billionaires have screwed you and they've screwed the college kid. Get the college kids' loans forgiven and put a Marshall Plan in America to build you industry.
But Democrats already have a challenge with working class voters that is killing your party.
Because we did NAFTA, because we did China and the World Trade Organization, because we watched places like Bucks County, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, Fairless Work shut down, steel plant shut down.
Yeah, who shut them down? Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, the Republican Congress. Who shut him down? That was the libs that did that. I still remember, and what I love about Lars is Lars and I have been around. We love politics. This is what we do. We love radio. I remember the Obama years. I remember, Jeffrey Elliott, the guy at GE, bragging how you and I pay more in taxes than GE because they just sent Westinghouse to China. Remember that? Regardless of Donald Trump this and President Trump that, he really has brought America back. And what they fear is this program start kicking in. And despite the propaganda, people are going to be moved all of a sudden going, yeah, he's right. It is working. I do have a job. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO.
We should accomplish 4 things for the American people. First, we wanted to build a mechanism for keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. It is open. We've seen, of course, gas prices and oil prices come down, millions and millions of barrels of crude and natural gas flowing through the Strait of Hormuz that weren't flowing before. But we also wanted to make sure that we actually set up the coordination mechanism so that we could demine the Straits of Hormuz, so that when there are the conflicts that inevitably come up, we can make sure we work through them rather than that leading to escalation, and that is exactly what we did yesterday. Number 2, we also wanted to build a mechanism, a similar mechanism.
There we have it, the vice president. You're not going to hear that because everybody's saying, oh, it's bad, it's this, it's that. Really? Sounds like the good news is happening. Now, if you watch Drudge or anything else, people are going, oh, the strait's closed. Is it or isn't it? Is it or isn't it? Think about what a threat the president has been. He has, taken down the Republican Party establishment. He has taken down the Democratic Party establishment, the woke establishment, all these other people. And of course, now we are the end of the beginning of the end. And they focus in on the algae. We have this ridiculous person dressed up as a pink tiger, I believe. Now, it takes a lot. And maybe this person is spry. Maybe this person will not be going to the Boise Music Festival. Imagine what it takes. Have you ever been to a rally or a protest? It takes some guts. It takes some cojones. Maybe not. Maybe you watch, what is it, the Studio 6B people? No, it's funny. When my parents are here, I always learn about all these online streaming people. And I'm going, I've been doing that for 31 years. We're all in this together, but I'm learning they're rallying and everything else. Maybe you're like those guys, the 6B, the Real America's Voice. I know Captain Harry loves them. The War Room. So maybe you've been a mascot, maybe you haven't, but imagine what it would be like that you are so filled with disgust and hate. You're not going to celebrate America. You dress up as a pink tiger with Antifa on the back of it, I believe. And you have a sign next to the National Guard people with Team Algae. Now, do you think that this person has things in the right perspective? Fox News Radio on 580 KIDO. Jared, it's been a while. Great to have you with us.
Nice to be back.
You know, it's fascinating about you. Sometimes we'll go to you and I go, dude, he's not going to be that because Donald Trump just said, Jared, get in my office.
Not today.
Pretty wild, though. It's never a dull moment with the administration.
It happens. No, it's a really big day for President Trump today. He heads in about 2 hours over to Capitol Hill. He is going to meet with Senate Republicans at a time where, it's a little frosty with Senate Republicans, right? The president is really trying to get them to kill the filibuster, pass this Save America Act, do some other things that he wants done. John Thune says they do not have the votes to do that. This is not something that is realistic. They need to focus on what they can actually do. And so that's a relationship that I don't want to say is soured. I still think that the two of them realize they need one another, right? But you don't see President Trump talk about John Thune in the way that he talks about, say, for instance, the Speaker of the House or certainly other Republicans in Congress. And so I'm fascinated to see how that exchange goes. He comes back, meets with the NATO Secretary General, something else that has been a little frosty at times as they try and figure out kind of a path forward for Ukraine, for these threats of the U.S. Shrinking its footprint in the European theater, troop movements out of Germany, out of Italy, obviously a big dust-up over the weekend with the Italian Prime Minister. At some point today, we expect President Trump to also meet with top defense contractors. He is trying to push these contractors to, put out more weapons faster. There really is a concern in the Defense Department about munitions. There have been a lot of munitions used, obviously, in the war against Iran. They need to replenish those. There are a lot that have gone out the door in support of Ukraine. President Trump is trying to get these defense contractors to make more American weapons quicker and cheaper. And that will be perhaps a contentious meeting at times. And then he gets to do, I think, what he enjoys best about being president, and that's preside over a big patriotic rally. He'll do that tonight. He will give what he's calling a rally to end all rallies at kickoff of the Great American State Fair. Recall, this is the event that kind of got mired in controversy over the last couple of weeks because all of these artists pulled out and said they weren't going to perform after all. And then President Trump said maybe we won't do the event, and then said he'll headline it and he'll have Lee Greenwood sing and the military bands sing and perform. There's going to be a series of military jet flyovers and a rally that could go late into the evening, at least here on the East Coast.
Did you survive the UFC? I know we tried to lobby to get you in.
No, I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go because it was, I couldn't get a ticket. And the press access was actually super limited because it wasn't technically a White House event. It was a UFC event. And so you had to be credentialed through them, and they kind of limited how all of that worked. I don't know a lot about UFC, to be honest, but I have spoken to a lot of people who do know a lot about UFC, watched the fights, and were like, they were amazing. Like, it was top-tier cards. Everybody seemed really happy with it. That huge construction, we called it the Claw. It is starting to come down. In fact, you do not see it now at the front of the White House entrance, so things are starting to get back to normal. But I think President Trump enjoyed the event. He's talked a lot about it kind of unprompted, and it was something that we'll see if it's replicated in the years ahead. Obviously, the other big event that the president's putting on here for this Freedom 250 is in August with this IndyCar race. That is a ticket that my son is eager for me to find a way to get. So I'll keep you guys posted if I can play hero and impress. My son's so unimpressed with my job that if I can pull this off, maybe I turn the tide a little bit.
Well, we're impressed with you. I know that means a lot coming from Idaho.
I think it's part of what, I think when you're a father, like I remember covering President Obama, and he would do these events with his daughters who at the time were like in middle school, which is my son's age. And, they were rolling their eyes and, on it. So I was like, he's president of the United States. And the kids are like, yeah, come on, Dad. So I get it. It's fine. But maybe I can play hero and see if I can get them access to this Freedom 250 IndyCar race. It's going to be on the National Mall here around the streets of D.C., which will be par for the course. I mean, you can see cars try and speed down and make tight turns down Constitution in Pennsylvania 5 days a week here in D.C. So it should be nothing for these IndyCar guys.
I saw your colleague Brett Baer, who you share a workspace with when you're not at the White House, and I go, if Brett's there, Jared should be there. Number one, and number two, having been to the White House a few times, what struck me is the historic nature. It's so old, and then it turned into like locker rooms and a working facility must have been earth-shattering for the UFC people.
Yeah, again, because I wasn't there, but I saw these pictures. I mean, they were in the Indian Treaty Room, which is across the street in the EEOB, and those walkouts were really cool. Walking through like again, I think it was a neat event. Obviously, there's going to be people that believe that this was not how the White House ought to be used. That the White House should be held in higher esteem. People are free to have their opinions, but I can tell you from the president's point of view. This was a win. And I think for a lot of his supporters, and honestly, even people who aren't political, like I've talked to people who aren't particularly big fans of the president, but are UFC fans, and they were like, yeah, this was a good event. So we'll see if they do another one or not.
Jared, we appreciate it. We hope you get to go see the IndyCars.
I'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you. Jared Halpern joining us live from the White House. Phone number's here, 580-5436-580 KIDO. So let's pay this off. By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Team Mazda. Team Mazda, Aaron and Joel, working for you, man. Those guys, by the way, end of the month, deals, deals, deals. 4th of July, deals, deals, deals. Team Mazda, deals, deals, deals. Torn from the headlines, President tells gas companies to drop prices fast or face price gouging probe. Nobody likes a probe, man. Whether you're going to the proctologist or you're a gas company. Gotta love this, man. The president telling gas companies, maybe the president listens to Kevin Miller because I say they gouge us. And then we have Al, the apologist, the establishment apologist, Al. Tea Party Bob, the capitalist. It's just how the oil companies are. Eat your porridge, boy. That's what he's really saying. Yet President Trump backs the people. He backs 580 KIDO's Kevin Miller. And he said he has instructed the Department of Justice to open up price gouging probes because gas prices are not dropping fast enough following his first stage peace deal with the mullahs. Mullah. Now, wait a minute. For years and years on this beloved radio show, I have heard people say, It goes up fast, but it doesn't go down fast. Oh, if that were the case for a lot of things in human biology. However, maybe it is. To young go the goodies. However, think about this for a minute. The president now agrees with us, saying there's no reason for these gas prices to remain so artificially inflated. If you don't lower your prices, greedy, grubbing oil companies, you're going to get the probe. And it's not going to be a good probe. It's going to be a hard probe, a cold probe, a DOJ probe. Are there any good probes from the DOJ? I don't think so. Gas prices, they're falling. The average price per gallon stood at $3.92 on Wednesday compared to $4.50 a month ago, according to the gatekeepers of all things gas, AAA Motor Club. Mr. Trump says we can do better. Well, Mr. Trump says we better do better. Quote, the big oil companies are not dropping their price at the pump commensurate with the sharply lower prices they are paying for oil. Those prices are dropping like a rock. In other words, customers are being gouged. He said this on Truth Social. America and Israel launched military operations against the mullahs on February 28th. And then we had the gas prices, the oil prices go up to over $100 a barrel. The price of Brent crude, not to be confused with Fred crude, Freddy Krueger, Krugy Krug, dropped below $75 a barrel. And yet gas prices are not going down further. I agree with President Trump. I've said it's been a ripoff again and again and again. And finally, we have a president that is going to look things and put things in the proper perspective and say, you know something? You're right about that. You know something, Kevin Miller? You're right. Gas prices are way too high. And we need to do something about it. By the way, speaking of doing something about it, we're down to the final days of June, which means we're down to the final days of some really incredible offers at Team Mazda and the pre-owned Superstore. Let's start with the big one. Right now, you can get 0% financing for 72 months plus no payments for 90 days on the Mazda CX-90 plug-in hybrid. This hybrid that makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. Plug it into a regular outlet at home and get about 25 miles of all-electric driving for your daily routine. Then when it's time for a road trip, it automatically switches to gas, so you never have to worry about finding a charging station. Now, if you're shopping compact SUVs, you owe it to you. That's right, Big Daddy. To compare the Mazda CX-50 to the Toyota RAV4, a lot of people do end up choosing the Mazda. Right now, Team Mazda has a lease special on CX-50s for just $290 a month. And for affordable, dependable transportation, don't overlook the Mazda 3. It's one of the few fun-to-drive commuter cars still out there. Team has 84-month financing at 5.9 APR, or you can lease it for just $219 a month. And remember, only Team gives you 130% of book value for your trade with a minimum $2,000 trade allowance, even if your current vehicle is a worthless clunker. Boy, isn't that nice what they do for your team? Get pre-approval right now at GoTeamCredit.com. There's no impact on your credit score, and you'll instantly see your buying power. Team Mazda, the pre-owned Superstore on the Boulevard or online at GoTeamMazda.com. That's GoTeamMazda.com. Please tell them Millie, not Vanilli, sent you. K-Millie. Let's go to the Watchdog in Eagle. Mark, good morning. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking my call. I hope you're having a good day there at KIDO.
I thought of you.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm so glad you brought this up about the oil. You know, how many times here at KIDO on the Kevin Miller Show have we gone over this like a broken record about the speculators, the thugs on Wall Street, your gangster banksters, the oil companies themselves who have made in the tens of billions of dollars off this war, with artificially inflated oil prices. You can defend people. Sorry. I love you, Tea Party Bob, but I know you worked on Wall Street, and I have kind of fought the issue about the speculators and the crap, and the supply and demand bit is all a hoax. It's a manipulative game to drive the prices up. You know, do you remember that movie called Trading Places? It's one of the movies that had Don Amici and I believe Ralph Bellamy, and it was one of the movies that helped launch Eddie Murphy's career besides Beverly Hills Cop. Remember what that movie was about? They took a guy, in this case Eddie Murphy, off the streets and made him into a stock trader. And he pulled a trick on them at the end of the movie where it had to do with orange juice futures. And when you watch that, remember how that movie goes. It gives you an idea of what happens on Wall Street, what happens with the gangster banksters, the speculators. And another point that I want to make here about how this is such a thuggish, manipulative, mafia-like operation on Wall Street is if you look right now, you have a show, I believe, that comes on. I haven't listened to it yet. It's a guy who sells precious metals and talks about precious metals, right? I believe it's on Saturday or something here at KIDO because I think you advertise for it. Okay, now we've heard commercials from Hannity about gold hitting $5,000 an ounce. I want you to look, people, today. Go to some of those sites where it shows what the market is right now. Gold had hit a high of about $5,700 and change, almost $5,800 an ounce. It's down to where earlier this morning I noticed it just dropped under $4,000 an ounce. Then you look at silver. Silver had hit an all-time high of almost $128 an ounce. Then we had, and now it's down to about $58 an ounce. Now, here it comes, and I want to show you the fraud and the lies about this, about how gold and silver are hedges against inflation. When you go to a website like KIDO and you click on that, it says, oh, gold dropped. Why did gold drop? Why did metal prices drop? Oh, the strengthening of the U.S. dollar. I have seen that BS line put on their website I don't know how many times. And what a joke is about that is the U.S. dollar has not strengthened at all. You still are paying a lot more for meat in the markets, other things, groceries, tires for your car, clothes, whatever, at overly inflated prices or overhyped up prices. And this is an example of the fraud and lies. So you have these shows that are on radio, whatever, or on TV about investing in gold and silver, and then you see what the speculators did to suck people in to invest in that. And then you have the silver now at less than half of its all-time high just prior to the war. Just prior to the war and the actions over there in Iran. Okay, now why is that? Why is it? If oil prices were shooting up, that increases. We've always been told it makes inflation. It makes everything else that oil is driven on, meaning transportation, everything. Look at the airline prices, Kevin. Look at how artificially high those ended up getting kicked up because of what happened in Iran and the manipulation of the market. Yeah, I'm not saying that things weren't, the supply line didn't get cut off, but for here in the United States, no, we don't need to import anything like what we used to in the past because of the shale oil that we get out of the Balkan region up on the Canadian border. But looking at all this, it just shows you the thievery, the gangsterism on Wall Street. They suck people in on the metals market there, and look what happened. People are now taking a bath with their gold that they bought at maybe $5,700 an ounce, and there's always a premium. That's the spot metal price. So if you go and buy like a coin or whatever, there's a premium added onto that. So it's the same thing with the silver. And now silver, again, is half of what it was worth prior to the war earlier this year, and the same with gold.
Wait a minute, silver's gone. So wait a minute, you could be our metals expert. So silver went down?
Oh my gosh, yes. Silver had hit a high earlier this year at 127 and change an ounce.
Holy moly!
And yes. You You can look that up. If you look at some of these websites where they show metal prices at certain, it's like gasbuddies.com. They'll show you what it hit. Okay, it's down now today at under $60 an ounce. It's about 50. It was about 56 and change a little while ago. And before I called here at KIDO to your show, Kevin, it ran up to about 58 an ounce. It's been slowly dropping. Gold, the same thing. Gold has dropped from a high of over $5,700 an ounce to just a little while ago. It was under 4,000. Now it kicked back up to just a little over 4,000 an ounce. People are getting sucked in with this stuff and watching these commercials. I've always said, if things got bad in this country, food, shelter, clothing, water, precious metals, you can't eat the damn stuff. Maybe for trading. And when one day happens, when they find out that the dollar finally sinks in value and goes down the tubes, what are they going to do? They're going to redo what they did back in when the Federal Not Reserve was created in 1933, recall all the gold. So all the people go out and buy these precious metals, but especially gold, are going to find out the government could pull this on them again. So I just want to point out the lies, the fraud, the gangsterism of Wall Street, these speculators, and what they have done.
But Mark, with all due respect, they're winning.
Well, they are. Yeah, they're winning our money. They're winning our money.
But it's what I'm saying is people are wholeheartedly jumping in and doing this. And let me put it to you this way: if you're in Wall Street, you're killing it right now. Now, there's a chance you can keep killing it. There's also a chance you could have a little roller coaster, which, as you and I both know, has happened in every historical time except now.
Well, look at Tesla. Look what happened with Tesla, and when with that new thing that the Musk just started up, and he just became the world's first trillionaire. Okay, so you can say that about Micron and all these and how they went up. Sure, people who have the inside knowledge and know what they're doing and how to play those markets and have people, and like you have said it here, Kevin, on your show here at KIDO, that a very small percentage of the population of this country invests in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It is not the majority. It's 28% of the people play the markets and make money off it or lose money. Right now it's going out, and Alan Greenspan just died recently, as we know, at 100 years old, I believe. He was the one who used the term irrational exuberance.
Good point, Mark. Thank you for the call. And to his wife, Andrea Mitchell, we send our condolences. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. You miss any portion of the program, we've got the podcast. If you have people that live in other states, why not do this? Send them the podcast. You got liberals in other states, send them the podcast. We'll do a conversion. Please, that would be great. By the way, a couple of headlines. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce set a July 3rd wedding with the Madison Square Garden celebration planned. Now, if you're ever been in the wedding business, what is it, 50% of all marriages fail, sadly? I don't think you've ever been a winner until you've failed. And if you have been a winner without failing, you're not a real winner, in my opinion. Anyway, here we have this big wedding. You're going to have people going, oh, isn't this great? I'm going to get tickets. It's the hottest event of the year. Is there nothing that these two egomaniac narcissists will not do to garner attention? I can say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for blessing me that I wasn't born in the age of the TikTok, the schmick-talk, and all sorts of other things. Thank you. Because why not just have, does everything have to be a public spectacle? Does everything have to be a public show? I'm not going out like that. Big weddings mean big expectations. By the way, wonder what that prenup looks like. Conservative influencer, I've never heard of this person, CJ Pearson tells GOP politicians to join TikTok. That's where the young voters are. He's 23. How many mortgages does this guy have? He started his online activism at 8. And now at 23, he's hosted primetime Republican gatherings and met with President Trump multiple times. You ever cracked a mic? You ever been on AM radio? You ever have danced the dance with the big dogs, Mr. Pearson? Most likely not. Have you ever talked to Tea Party Bob? Have you ever taken a tongue lashing from Al in Ontario? Jim from Star, been inspired by Patriot Ray? Have you ever worn a turkey outfit? Most likely not. But in my America, that's when you've been the big time. Mr. Trump is credited to TikTok, or TokTok as we like to call it, with his ability to increase support from young voters. A Pew Research group found 63% of voters 18 to 49 are on TokTok. According to Reuters, Mr. Trump's garnered 3 million followers on TokTok within 24 hours of joining the network. I don't know, man. I don't know. So get on the TokTok if you want to be hip. I always like people like me that try to get on there and go, hey, I got 5 views. And then you try to do something like stupid. So, as many of you know, I am, how should I put this? I am tied to a person from another radio station. He and I make appearances together, and he's very shocked by this because it's the radio odd couple of the Treasure Valley. Matt Walling Mateo from Kiss FM, St. Paul's product, Gonzaga product. He tells me that all the time, as all the Zag people do. And because we appear in videos together, again, I'm Felix to his Oscar. People come up to him and say, hey, where's Kevin Miller? Or they'll say, where's Mateo? I go, I'm not his keeper. So sometimes, and this happened like 5 or 6 years ago, we would start doing videos where we would say goofy, silly things. And the last time we were at the garage sale, not this year, last year, we did a video because I'm boycotting videos with him right now. And we're next to this bouncy house. And I go, I like bouncy houses. And I was supposed to jump into the bouncy house. Well, I didn't know that the bouncy house was tied down. So literally, I almost broke my neck. Boom, because those bouncy houses are hard. And, we're going to go viral on TikTok. We got like 10,000 views of me hitting my head. Is that value? Is that adding value to somebody's life? Had to hold off the sneeze. No! So go out and do something. Volunteer. And document things. To be inspirational. Not self-aggrandizing like Taylor and Travis. Kevin Miller in the morning, brought to you by our friends at T-Mazda, this hour's sponsor of the program. Thank you all for joining us. And again, as you heard Dave talking about the Boise Music Festival, and earlier we were talking about TikTok, but how about this? President Trump saying, hey, man, let's lower some gas prices. Hey, man, let's get those things down. He's right about that. Greedy, grubby oil companies. Now, we'll hear from their defenders coming up. And coming up next hour, a man that, well, I think he's going to burn a lot of bridges by being on this program. But he likes to live in danger. He dances on danger and dines on death. That is Greg Pruitt will join us from Honor, Idaho, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, and his various other thriving platforms. We'll hear from him on what's going on politically in Idaho. We've had the big GOP convention. We've had the fallout of that. We've had the re-election of everybody because primaries are the general election. We have the mayor of Boise on social media. A lot of things going on, if you will. A lot of things going on when you're taking a look at politics and movements and, are good people getting out of it? I don't know. One thing I do know is we live in Idaho. Thank goodness we don't live in New York.
The Goldman Lander primary, I agree with you. I think Dan's going to lose. I don't agree with much of anything he's done in Congress, but I'm surprised you sort of glossed over the main issue in this race, which is Israel. I mean, Dan Goldman is a congressman, and he's Jewish, and he went into a coffee shop this weekend in Brooklyn, and they said, you're not welcome here anymore. Brad Lander is out speaking in mosques, telling those people that he'd like to go align himself with Ilhan Omar and the rest of the squad. Dan Goldman's only sin, I guess, is that he thinks Israel has a right to exist. And for that, that has been the principal issue in this. And you've got the mayor of New York City, Mamdani, out saying about AIPAC and Jewish Americans who have participated in our politics that they are, quote, monsters. What is happening right now in New York City, the Democrat socialist takeover of the Democratic Party, should frighten not just Jewish Americans, but all Americans everywhere, because this is the direction the Democrats are headed nationally. Look what's happening in Michigan, and it is frightening. Throwing Democrat Jewish congressmen out of coffee shops in Brooklyn, New York. It's not 1930s Germany. This is the United States of America.
And by the way, Jack Schlossberg also ran into this. He has been disproportionately asked despite repeatedly stating his position on.
Yeah. How about that one? How about that one, true believer? This is not 1930s Germany. Sounds like the first hour of this program. Let's roll on. We go to Elaine with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Hello, Elaine.
Hey there, Kevin. I just wanted to comment. When I first heard a couple days ago that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were going to, do the Madison Square Garden kind of celebration, silly me, I assumed being, the billionaire that she is, that she would be, just throwing a party and not charging people. And so you just telling me this just actually makes sense in a sad way. But I also wanted to say, as an older person that's watched a lot of people marry and many divorce, it seems to me the bigger the show, right? The bigger the show, the more likely it's not about the marriage and higher odds it will fail. So that's my prediction.
No, and we've all been around. You can kind of tell when it's gonna last. But bridezillas, groomzillas, parentzillas, and the wedding industry has always fascinated me. And Elaine, I don't know. We've all been to weddings and stuff, but to me, it's the ceremony, the this, that, and the other, and I have to make this special. And you're going, well, yeah, that's only one day out of whatever. And there are brilliant people that market the heck out of it and stuff. And obviously, sure, it's supposed to be a celebratory thing, but it's just fascinating to me. Just you have to have this and you have to have that, and I don't know. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Don't you think that's gotten worse with generations? Recent generations. I feel like that we have to do this. We have to announce it this way. Blah blah blah. I feel like that's. Back when I got married in 1989, which totally dates me, but we did it ourselves. Taped our music. I borrowed my sister's wedding dress. I catered my own wedding. I had somebody else serve it, but I made the food because we had just bought a house, right? We were focused on the marriage, the future, our lives together. And I feel like all that other stuff takes away from what you're really doing and what really matters. And honestly, it was, granted it was my wedding, but it still was, to me, one of the funnest weddings I've ever been to. And I think it cost us, including photography, right? Less than $3,000. So anyway, I granted 1989.
Hold on. Let me don't apologize for that. Just hearing the day 1989 should inspire so many people. That's not derogatory. That's the day, man. 89, life was ahead of you.
And happily married. People say, "Oh, you're still married." And I usually say happily married for 37 years because you can be married for 37 years, but to be happily married for 37 years, that's grateful for that for sure.
That was in the age of the cassettes. The in the cars, the mixtapes and all that, I'm
anyway. So let's see. I certainly wish them well, but I just think, wow, that tells you a lot. That's all I can tell you. That tells you a lot.
Well, and nobody thinks critically. Oh, look at Taylor. Look at Travis. Do you not think that this guy wants to be in movies? And she wants to get a larger audience, so maybe this is more like a merger than a marriage?
Yes, and also greed, right? That to me, this is, greed at its worst. And that's one of the 7 deadly sins, FYI. So,
can you imagine the VIP package?
yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I love that, the VIP package.
Well, you won't see me there, Kevin.
Well, Elaine, you've made my day with just you're happily married since '89. I love '89.
It was the 80s, right? Music in the 80s.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, back. Hold on, an ode to big hair. Whether you liked it or not, I loved big hair.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I still, I hear sticks, like, some of those old things that happened back then. I love that era of Prince music, and I always wanted to see him in person. And so one of my regrets was I always kept thinking, I'll do it later, and then he died, right? So I never got to see him in person. But
Prince was so gifted because of his music, and I'll tell you the weirdest thing is, in one of my goofy travels, I saw Prince, but he wasn't Prince. He was the symbol. So he played all this like weirdo music, and I didn't appreciate him at the time. But it was wild. But you think about it, here's a guy that played every instrument and could sing and could write. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I ran into quick fun story. I was in the Albertsons, my Albertsons in my neighborhood, and I start talking to this gentleman in the dairy section. He was talking to me, and we're talking dairy. But we quickly went into, the 80s music. This guy was a musician who came from Seattle, played drums. Anyway, we start talking about the 80s and Prince and Michael Jackson, the whole thing. And he says, yeah, one of his best buddies in Seattle played with Prince, in the day. And, of course, the first thing I said was, boy, I bet he's got stories. Right? And he goes, oh, yeah. He said lots of fighting and lots of drugs is what he told me. But I thought, wow, here I am in Idaho, and I run into somebody who knows somebody who was in the Prince band, the Revolution or whatever they call it. Prince.
Oh, yeah. But you remember Sheila E., and, of course, the iconic movie Purple Rain.
That's it. To me, that was the iconic. I know it wasn't his beginning, but I think that's when he sort of really gained ground. I'm not so much versed on the later Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince,
right?
But the Purple Rain days, iconic. I just saw the movie like replayed on some cable channel, and I couldn't believe it. Took me back. I'll tell you.
Okay, one more for you.
Yeah,
more Stay in the Time.
Talented.
Yeah, more Stay in the Time.
Yep. Yes. Have you heard?
Exactly.
It's called The Bird.
Jungle Love. O-E-O-E-O. Yes. Boy, to the young people, we're sounding like a couple people at the home, but I'm so with you on that.
I know. Well, thank you for starting my day with laughter.
Thank you, Elaine. You have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Appreciate that. And if you've never heard Jungle Love, O-E-O-E-O, go to YouTube now. I think I want to know you. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. This was the music in the day. Yeah, take that. Okay, we could go on and on, but this isn't the throwback show. Lee Joe, good morning. You're on 580 KIDO.
You say it's not the throwback show, but I'm not really sure. So so I won tickets, and I won 4 tickets, and I'm like, who am I gonna? So I went Father's Day to the granddaughter's house, granddaughter's house, and it turns out, I also listened to 80s music, mostly the alternative, the Depeche Modes. That was what I liked to listen to. And then I discovered Rush Limbaugh, and after that, I barely listened to music. So that's kind of the end of my music era. And so when Marshmello and all these people come in to the Boise Music Festival, I'm like, oh, okay, sure. But if you let your granddaughter know that she's going to the concert with you, concerts, she will think you're the best grandpa ever. And I'm checking out the bands and trying to figure out what that music sounds like. It's not really that bad. It sounds pretty good. And now I'm the best grandpa ever, thanks to KIDO. So thank you, Kevin, for the opportunity to go to the music festival with my granddaughter.
Good for you.
Who is 10. So our dear mayor, our dear condescending, word salad, pure socialist mayor in her, you commented on the 23-year-old Republican that says everybody get on TikTok.
Yeah.
She's trying to do that. That's what she's trying to do. Hi, I'm young and I'm hip and I'm blah, 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 blah. And here's my faux excitement and here's my condescending instructions on what to do in a river and blah, blah, blah. And you're all such idiots and so simple. I'm just going to state the obvious and pretend like it's content. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think, with all due respect, I don't think she's that young.
That's what I'm saying. She's trying to be. She's trying to be doing what the young people do. Get on social media, make posts, and I've watched her posts. Like I say, she is literally the person who celebrates May Day, the Communist Founding Day, and the Haymarket riots, and comments on social media. I don't know if she's taken it down yet, but she's for the Mamdanis and all the commies that took over in New York. She's that kind of person. That's literally who she is, and she just doing her very best to quietly make sure that nobody knows that she's as anti-American as exists, in like you've demonstrated, the 4th of July parade. She ended it, and we brought it back, but she wants nothing to do with flying the flag.
And let me just jump in for 2 seconds. She cares more about the pride flag than the American flag. At least that's my view of her, and it's always been the view. It's been my view of her predecessor as well.
Well, and once again, wrapping the flag in the rainbow colors is the flag that the United States flag is flying on is a violation of U.S. flag code. She, her religion, and we have to say that it is her religion of the LMNOPs. That flag it's stated that it should not be flying with other banners or advertisements or anything of that nature. The flag should fly as the flag by itself. I don't care if you put it on the other two flagpoles, whatever. But the flag the pole the flag of the United States flies on should not be decorated in anything. But, just let's spend the $15,000 and wrap it and promote a different religion than most people follow on taxpayer dollars. Hey, it's all fine. I'm a Democrat. I've got it's for the good of everyone. It's for the good of everyone. Just same old. It's a mental illness with those people, and it is a religion. And like Chandler and I were talking about the other day, the Republican Party, we're sitting here, we're fighting while this goes on, and we should be we should be united against LMNOP as a religion being promoted with tax dollars. Do what you want, just don't use my money for it, and don't push one religion over another. And they just go on, and we just kind of, bread and circuses. Let's have a giant wrestling match at the White House.
Can I? And we only have a couple seconds left, but can I hit you with? We have the Republicans fighting amongst themselves, and now we're going to end property taxes, which that's not going to happen. That's just to be popular. That's just to pander. And then we have the lib running wild in Boise, and nobody's focused on her but you and me. Am I missing something?
No, I think you've got it. And, Florida's working on getting those taxes. Like you said, we've only got a couple seconds. We can go into it. But
here, we'll get into that with Greg Pruitt. Here's one. Maybe if the governor said that, it would mean something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And he's not going to. His cronies depend on it.
And when's the last time the governor talked to anybody running the Republican Party? Oh, never.
When's the last time he opened his mouth and made any public statement? It's the last time he was I was endorsed by Trump, and that's the only thing you heard out of him.
It works.
It's sickening. And he's sickening. I just can't understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there goes my invitation. Dressed in a loud green KIDO green shirt. The only one made in the world, that would be me. So, yes, that is me. Probably about 40 pounds heavier. Joining us now, we're trying to impress him, Greg Pruitt, Honor Idaho, Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. All things good about our great state. Our man, the intrepid reporter, the man who probably, once he's done with this program, will get many phone calls, Greg Pruitt. Hello, sir.
Oh, good. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
One of the few people that are not afraid to come on this show anymore. We appreciate that. What do they call it? The blockade continues. But thankfully, we have you on. And, you and I talked about the state GOP convention. You told me, hey, the Dorothy Moon would win. She did. And but not without a lot of controversy, not without a lot of people stating that, I don't want to lead the witness. You're the reporter from the Idaho Dispatch. You tell us, sir.
Yeah, it's always hard to take down an incumbent, essentially, no matter what the election is. It can be tough. And, there was a three-way race with her and Mark Fuller, and Mark Fuller was also going for the conservative portion of the delegates. And then Stephen Thane, who was going to be the representative, so to speak, for the more moderate wing of the party. And it's just a tough haul. A lot of people know Dorothy, and, it's just a lot easier to go with the incumbent, I think, most of the time. And a lot of the delegates like what she has done with the party, but clearly a chunk didn't, but not enough to ultimately unseat her from the position.
Yeah, that's a good start, not getting yourself in trouble with her. Let's continue to move into hot water. So what we saw, though, again, she has very powerful allies that carry her water. As the chairman, she can put her people in. And from what I understand, it wasn't easy, especially when the state treasurer of the GOP resigned, saying that if she were reelected, he would not run again because the whole party is broke. It's 50th in the country in fundraising. That wasn't an issue, and when it's the cult of personality, good or bad, people are going to elect people they're comfortable with. But it was a pretty emotional speech that was played over and over again on social media. Were you shocked by that?
You're talking about Steve Bender's speech?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. He's been doing work for the party for a really long time, and I think just decided that he was going to throw his hat in and just say, "Hey, look, if Mark Fuller wins, I'll stay. If he doesn't, and if it ends up being Dorothy, I'm not going to run for chair again, for treasurer." So I wasn't really shocked about the speech. I have some committee members that sit on the committee, the state GOP committee, that had told me there's just been a lot of angst and a lot of infighting, even within the committee, and a lot of people frustrated, in particular, like you mentioned, with the fundraising aspect of the party. And that's just become kind of that was kind of the main topic that seemed to swell around the division there.
Yeah, didn't really move the needle. You and I both predicted this years ago when Moon was elected, that this would happen. It happens to everybody. It's not particular to her, but the fundraising is troubling considering you live in a Ruby red, the reddest of the red, to quote Butch Otter. So, Greg Pruitt, we'll put you on the spot. Why are people not giving money to the state Republican Party?
Well, there's several aspects of this that I guess you could look at. Her defense was it's Idaho, it's a small state. There aren't as many donors as in some other states. And I think part of that doesn't hold up too well because states like Utah and Wyoming and others that have, maybe a little bit more Republicans or the same amount of Republicans, they're doing really well with their fundraising. And so, is it that the fact that we're just a smaller state? I don't think so. That doesn't seem to hold up against some of the other smaller states that seem to be doing a lot better. And so, and here's the thing, Kevin, is it's not that we're just last. I mean, we're significantly in last, right? I mean, somebody's going to be last, but if the numbers between last and state number 40 are all about the same per donor, then okay, everybody's maybe doing pretty well. We're just so far behind, and I think that was one aspect of it. You could say, well, Donald Trump's the president, so maybe donors don't want to donate. I don't know. The other part that you have to look at is, are we doing fundraising properly? Are we out doing the right kind of events, the right types of pitches to high dollar donors? And I mean, there's so many questions about, and I don't know, I don't follow Dorothy's day to day, but a lot of people seemed to think, at least that were opposed to her, that the hardcore good fundraising that we need to fight the ballot initiative has not been done. That was their contention.
Well, also, you've had posts on social media telling people not to donate to the party. And these people are Republicans saying that the party doesn't give to candidates. And social media can be the driver for it. And then you have the Idaho Majority Club that has raised a lot of money. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't go around saying it on social media. I haven't given to the GOP, national or state, in a really long time, because the GOP machine, by and large, most of the time ends up supporting rhinos. So I don't really care to support the machine that is giving to rhinos and stuff like that. I'm also kind of the opinion, like, I think your money is maybe better spent helping the candidates you really want to support, because the money is going to their candidacies. So, but there are people that do go around and say, hey, don't bother. I honestly, Kevin, don't think that has very much impact. I don't think.
My point being, though, Greg, at 580-KIDO, Honor Idaho's Greg Pruitt with us, is that money can be raised in the state. Now, again, different crowd, but money can be raised in the state through channels that, when you had a previous chairman that was voted out, Tom Luna, could get for the party. So the money's there, is my point.
Yeah, there's money to be had, and I think that's the hard part when you're the chair, obviously, is you have to be able to try and pull in money, even from people that maybe don't agree with your platform as much as maybe they agreed with Tom Luna's. Look, no, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of people who have worked closely with Dorothy have had a lot of issues with her personality, and they say she's a little bit too overbearing, all this kind of stuff. And maybe for some high dollar donors, that was really off-putting, and didn't want to donate to the party because they didn't like the direction that she was taking it or how she was leading it or whatever. That's always going to be the case. I mean, to be fair, if you had a mega conservative donor and they were sick and tired of rhinos and Tom Luna got reelected, maybe you'd lose that funding, so. Well,
but again, you just were really, really last. Doesn't matter. And we congratulate Moon for winning. However, you and I are looking at this as you, the reporter, me, the political scientist. And for people that aren't following this every day, we're being objective here. We're not calling people names. We're just saying this is the case that it is. We go back to Barry Peterson. They did the same thing to him, but not to this extent. And I can remember he saying on this show, the governor's bending me over when he was talking about Butch Otter. So you have to be like the United Nations. That's the worst job you can get in this state, You don't get paid for it. I've seen that job chew up a ton of people, with the exception of being Tom Luna. He seemed to thrive on that job. You remember Jonathan Parker. You remember Steve Yates. You remember Norm Semenko, Raul Labrador. They all had challenging times within the state GOP, which is fascinating. One more final question about this. But on one hand, people move to Idaho and they go, it's the reddest of the red, and that you have 5 political parties. Now, again, you from the Idaho Dispatch, Honor Idaho, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, you work with all these people, and they tell you things. Most notably, whether it's your opinion or not, we're asking for you to give us your thoughts on, what makes this political structure so unique and yet so frustrating when we're talking about the party politics in Idaho. It should be very simple. The liberal loons, like the folks in Boise, should lose and we should win, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, I mean, it never is, especially in state party politics. It's always a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that have moved here are very conservative and conservative leaning, and they have no idea what they've walked into with the current infighting, so to speak, within the party. I don't even know if you want to call it infighting at this point. I think there's just multiple, there's like essentially 3 parties within the party, all fighting for power. And that's somewhat a byproduct of, you live in a state that is 80% Republican. You're just, at some point you get to the level of, well, we need it to be more Republican or we need it to be very moderate Republican. And that's what the fight's over. It's not really over the Democrats. The Democrats essentially don't hold power here. So the fighting turns towards each other and trying to push the party further to the right or further to the left. And that's just the dynamic that a state like this has.
Yeah, it is really, really fascinating yet frustrating. Greg, can you hang on for a moment?
Yes, sir.
All right. More great content from our friend Greg Pruitt next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Hey, Greg, Mondami's running wild in New York. You think that could happen in Idaho at all? The Democratic Socialists, they're saying they're eyeing the White House now. Any thoughts on that?
Well, probably not anytime soon. I don't see a governor, or a big, I don't know. You could argue McLean is one of the Democrat socialists. She's done a pretty good job of ruining our great capital city. But no, Kevin, and you've known this for years, I've said the bigger threat right now is these ballot initiatives, because these groups have figured out. In fact, I wrote an article on Honor Idaho about the numbers to get to the 70,000 signatures they needed. Okay, they could almost every district that they went to, and they have to get 18 of the legislative districts to get 6%. Well, guess what? There are more Democrats for that 6% in almost all of those districts. So in theory, they don't even need Republicans to get these ballot initiatives on a ballot. That's the type of stuff that we've got to wake up to, Kevin, because that's the way you flip the state from red to purple to blue, is by taking advantages of the laws that we have and these ballot initiatives. And that's would be how you turn our state into a state like California or whatever. But in terms of some socialists running for governor and winning, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Let me let's go back to before we get to the ballot initiatives and obviously the state of the opposition. Let's talk about Boise. We have Mayor McLean now doing videos. We wrote about that, and I really, again, maybe I'm an old man, which I am. Maybe I'm cranky, which I am. But I don't see the benefit of, hi, I'm in the Boise River wearing a dress and the water is cold, when taxes are going up, when there's been several scandals with the police maligned by her excessive spending, and yet she runs wild and free, decorating no flagpole is safe with her.
Yeah, she's extremely tone deaf, in my opinion. I don't get it. And there's a lot of politicians like that, right? That they do stupid stuff that you're just going, oh my gosh, they're passing the biggest budget they've ever had. They just raised property taxes as much as they could. Wanted to raise it a lot more. I mean, and like you said, you're running around in the river trying to act like one of us, I guess. So maybe focus on fixing the city and the real issues the city faces versus. But this has been the model, Kevin. They take over the largest cities and just run them into the ground. And that's what you're going to see. I mean, to make a point, your point. There was a video, I want to say a week and a half ago in Seattle of the commie Seattle mayor running around on a soccer field and just fell flat on her face. It was the funniest video you've ever seen. It tripped over herself, fell right on her face, and it was just kind of symbolic of how these guys run these cities. They just run them straight into the ground.
Which brings us to Ada County, and why hasn't the Ada County GOP made her a project? There's been a lot of infighting in the Ada County GOP. It's Idaho's largest county, the most prosperous county. It's where the decisions are made, and yet Ada County could be purple for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously all the commissioners are still, elected Republicans. Will that hold over time? History says no, because what you look at with Seattle and Portland, all these other big cities that they take over, eventually the conservatives in those cities just get tired of it. And you just push out further and further and further away from the larger cities, and eventually they're left to the leftists, no pun intended. And so, should somebody really take a good, hard swing at McLean politically, electorally, okay, for everyone listening? I mean, you need a good candidate. You need a good ground game. And you got to give it everything you can, because the issue is everybody looks at the numbers and they go, well, the numbers seem like she should be beatable. Sure. But now you're talking about a turnout of, I don't know what it is, 60 to 80% Republicans. I mean, you'd have to turn out almost everybody. And the problem, as you know, Kevin, is city elections are on the bottom of the totem pole. And so you've really got to find a candidate who can just rally not just Republicans, but maybe independents who are like, look, this lady's nuts. I'm not Republican, but we've gone way too far the other direction. And so you've got to find a good candidate who has a good ground game and can, pull off that type of campaign. And even then, maybe it's not possible. Maybe Boise's lost. I think that it's worth taking one or two more shots to try and retake the city before we throw in the towel.
Well, you've got to have a good support system, a good offensive line, and people have to be committed. And Boise seems to be its own entity, whether it's city council, whether it's the state senate or state house races. You don't really have a lot of ush. Before we get to the initiatives, what are politics too toxic in this state for like the average ordinary people? Because it just seems that everybody calls everybody names.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a segment of people that they don't want to deal with politics at all. And so because of, how toxic and how vicious it can be at times, that's a chunk of people. But I honestly, Kevin, I think it's less about that. And I think there's far more people who just don't care. They don't care. They don't care until it goes bad, right? Then it goes bad, and then they're like, how did this happen? And you're like, well, you remember that politics thing you said you hated and you wanted to avoid and you just didn't have time for it? Well, it had time for you, right? It didn't care whether you hated it or not. It's just it's the adjudication of power. There's two sides constantly fighting to maintain or take that power. So I think that segment, Kevin, the complacency segment, if you will, is significantly larger than people who deliberately stay out just because of how toxic it can be.
Speaking of toxic, we move on to the ballot initiatives. Have we ever found out about the weed? Did the weed get shot down yet? I mean, are we still counting ballots? Look, with all due respect to the Secretary of State, he's a nice man that likes to be on every media outlet that they don't ask him any tough questions. So I would just ask the Secretary of State, did we certify the weed? Have we certified the challenge to the pro-life law. Where's the press release? I mean, we have a press release on how to vote, or America 250, or here's a stuffed potato, but we don't have it on this, or have I missed it?
No. So, to be fair to Secretary McGrain, the counties have until June 30th to submit their validated signatures.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, the whole process takes forever. So they have until June 30th, and then the state still has, I want to say 10 to 15 days to certify the certified signatures. Like it's crazy. So that's why you haven't heard anything official yet.
But wait a minute. With respect, shouldn't we have an update on how many counties have actually? I mean, this is a real issue. It's not like urging people to vote. This is what people are caring about. I would think that I would say, hey, we have 25 counties in, or whatever counties in. Maybe I just like the news business, Greg.
No, and I think that's fair. I think it would be fair for, maybe somebody to go, hey, Phil, can you just, you don't have to tell us even which county, hey, 25 of 44 counties have submitted signatures on weed and on the abortion one, or, just some updates. I don't think there's any laws that would prohibit him from doing that. I'd have to check. But yeah, I think some updates. What we do know is that the abortion people were submitting their signatures right away, right? Yeah. They were turning them in nonstop, certifying them. I mean, it was a real professionally ran campaign. The weed people, from what we understand and what I was told, they just gathered as much as they thought they needed from every county and then dumped it all into the counties. So they're probably taking forever. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the abortion initiative has already all been turned in by all the counties, and they're just working on the weed one currently because they didn't get them certified as they were going along.
So let's get dangerous and say most people assume the abortion challenge, aided by the media, aided by big money, aided by the false narrative that the state is losing doctors and the state is killing women, will be on the ballot. We have people saying that the Republicans have to come together. Well, the Republicans didn't stop the ballot initiative to begin with, the letter writing things. How does what does the opposition to the abortion or the end of the pro-life law look like?
Yeah, and that's the tough part. That's where that whole fundraising question comes back into play, because our side is going to be outspent. We know that. That's nothing new. The left always has way more money that they're willing to dump into these programs and these issues. Here's the thing, Kevin. I've told people. I said I think with 250,000, Honor Idaho would crush this thing. Because here's the reality: is I've talked to people in my own church. People, to your point, are not political at all. And I say, hey, do you know about this ballot initiative? Nobody knows about it. Nobody has a freaking clue right now that this thing is going to hit the ballot. And once I tell them what it can do, that it's abortion up until birth, depending on what the doctor says, they're like, wait, what? That's happening in Idaho? And they're like, oh, heck no. Okay, that's the reaction you're going to get once voters who are not plugged in understand what we're up against. So you only need enough money to educate and wake up the voters to that one reality. That's it. And this thing is done. Like, I honestly think it would get crushed if people know what it does. But that's the key, right? We have to have enough money to get to those voters to educate them on what it does.
Well, and then you have the earned media that is backing this false narrative.
Correct, and that's one reason I've always been against ballot initiatives completely. If it was up to me, we'd just abolish them, because the media is a huge propaganda machine, for these bad ones. And if you were ever to try and run a good one, if the grocery tax one had made it, they would have found some way to just constantly attack it, right, and constantly undermine it. So yeah, the media, it's all free publicity for the pro-abortion folks this year.
So let's talk a little bit about the state of play here. Greg Pruitt joining us, Honor Idaho, Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, Idaho Dispatch, Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. A lot of people have been critical of the Speaker of the House I say compared to his predecessor, he's doing a lot. People very, very passionately call people that support him donut eaters. How do you see the speaker? Is he really the unseen power behind everything in Idaho, and will he keep his slot?
I mean, he's the speaker, so he does wield a lot of power. I think he did a very good job tying himself to a lot of conservative lawmakers who rally behind him. So that certainly gave him a leg up in the fight over how the party went. I am told that him and Dorothy are fairly close. And so if you believe that, then that means that he's also wielding, good power with the state party and helping, push maybe narratives that he would like to get pushed. So, yeah, I think again, it's a speaker, so he already does have a lot of power. And I think he's, Moyle is very savvy. He's very good at the game. He's been around for decades, so he knows how the game's played. He knows what to do. Can he keep his power? That's the big question. And it'll be interesting because he's sort of like Dorothy, and he's a very outgoing, very aggressive personality. And so some people don't like that. I think if the Main Street caucus or the more moderate wing of the party feels like they can get him unelected as speaker, they're certainly going to take that chance. And, since some of the more conservative people lost in the House, and you've got more moderates in there now, I think his chances are on a razor's edge.
Yeah. A couple more for our friend Greg Pruitt here at 580 KIDO. I can't talk about Idaho politics without our man, Senator Guthrie. 5 constitutional officers endorse him. The Attorney General endorses his opponent. Why do people care so much about this guy in eastern Idaho?
Well, I don't. I mean, he's been around for a long time, and so some of them I think are good friends with him. Some of them didn't want to lose. If he had lost, he's losing to David Worley, who's going to be extremely conservative. And so I think it was perhaps more of we have to keep more moderates in power or we might lose the Senate. I think that was the big concern there. But he kind of just does whatever Governor Little tells him to do, in my opinion. And so it was, imperative for them to keep him. But what does that tell you, Kevin? Okay, so you have a senator who not only blocks all the good gun legislation, he was essentially the sole reason. Okay, you could put some blame on Anthony, the Senate pro tem, as well, but he's the chair that blocks all the illegal immigration reform, all of it. So, and they put all their eggs behind defending the guy who wants to give driver's licenses to illegals. And so, go all the way back to why do people not want to donate to the party? That's why. They're sick of supporting Republicans who are basically Democrats with an R next to their name.
Yeah. Pretty wild. Okay, we had our friend Senator Zito on explain this whole thing, and this is very inside to people, but if you follow anybody on social media, and if you're not, this is entertainment purposes only. However, what do you make this whole Gang of 8 that was vilified by Dorothy Moon and all these other people, and then the Freedom Foundation, the Freedom Caucus? That's why we have you on. Can you explain what it is, what happened, and why there was a target on them from Republicans, including people on talk radio that ripped them? And I'm going, man, maybe I need to go get my Declaration of Independence because I'm really missing the whole validity of attacking lawmakers that are conservative Republicans. But can you give us some insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Gang of 8 was largely considered the most conservative wing at the Capitol, okay? And they were very vocal and outspoken and didn't mind taking on leadership. And there were other conservative lawmakers who used to be like that, and then they kind of fell behind. It goes back to Mike Moyle again. And a lot of them just aligned with Mike Moyle, and they wanted to change maybe some of the tactics that were used to try and pass, conservative legislation. And so yeah, you saw a concerted effort, and normally you see it just from the rhinos, right, trying to take out our most conservative lawmakers. But clearly, I don't know if there's a coordinated plan, but everybody just decided from the far left, who ran deceitful ads that the AG had to come out and go after, to the moderates, which we expected. But then you had, Dorothy Moon, who's the chair, was on audio saying she didn't want the Gang of 8 to become the Gang of 10, meaning she didn't want more of those hardline conservative lawmakers, which is like, wait, what? Because, Dorothy's considered by many to be a hardline conservative. And so there's, why is that happening? And then to your point, some radio hosts who claim to be conservative were going after them. I mean, they had the entire kitchen sink, Kevin, thrown at them, and it worked. It worked. They were able to smear those guys and just malign and attack them. And I think it caught a lot of them off guard. And, a lot of them ended up getting unelected because of it.
Greg Pruitt, Honor Idaho. Appreciate you, bro. As always, We're still here.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Kevin. Always happy to come on.
All right, Greg Pruitt, check him out. Honor Idaho, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. Kevin Miller on your home for Fox News, 580 KIDO. 580-5436, 580 KIDO. Thank you all for joining us as we move along. Phone numbers, we've given it to you. Don't forget the Boise Music Festival. And really, I was looking at something as a way, and you don't need to be inspired because you love America, but as we approach the 4th of July, there's been a lot of negative Nellies. And like I said, my feed has been giving me a ton of stuff about the Civil War. And you can get this movie on Prime or maybe even YouTube for free, but it's Martin Sheen, Steve Lang, The Civil War, Gettysburg. And I don't know if it's God and Generals. I think that's another one. But as we approach, it's not the 30th anniversary of Gettysburg, but when we talk about America, just listen to this trailer for a minute.
If you're going to fight alongside us, there's a few things I want you to know. This regiment was formed last summer. There were 1,000 of us then. There are less than 300 of us now.
They were farmers and school teachers.
We are an army out to set other men free.
Gentlemen and laborers.
Virginia's not about to let itself be ruled by some president in Washington.
Those boys in blue, they never quite seem the enemy.
I know. They came from Maine and Texas.
We cannot retreat. We cannot withdraw.
From New York and Virginia.
No 15,000 men ever made can take that bridge.
This war goes on, and the price gets ever higher. I want this to be the final battle.
A conflict that turned neighbor against neighbor.
Old friends off to war.
Friend against friend.
See you in hell, Billy Yank. See you in hell, Johnny Rip.
Failed generals of the movie, Little Round Top. I don't know, it makes me really want to pack up the whole show and take us to Gettysburg, if you will. Like a movie came out in 1993, and of course, every great movie has Sam Elliott in it. But when we need to be inspired, and our friend Ray just came back from D.C., and I said, it'll change your life. And I wish D.C. were closer to us, because that would be very nice, if you will. But when you see that, and look, we have our own national monuments in the West. To me, before I go, I want to see Mount Rushmore. The iconic Mount Rushmore. That's what I'd like to see. And you go to D.C. and you think of all those people, and they may be stone statues, but they preserved the Union. We go now to our own preservationist, Tea Party Bob at 580 KIDO.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. A lot of politics being talked about today.
Hold on. Good morning. Good morning, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. To quote the great late Howie Chiswick. Go ahead, please.
I see you're quite involved today. We forget that it was the people of America that kept it free, not the politicians. So I ask you to keep an eye on communism, socialism, fascism. They're all enemies of freedom, regardless of what you want to call them. I left New York 33 years ago because I saw it was coming as the cost of everything soared. Taxes became onerous. Transportation to and from the city was just about impossible on public or private transportation. Rent control and low-income housing became more prominent as the middle class moved further out from the city, and those who were looking for the freebies moved in. Crime became more prominent. Walking around after dark or even in the daytime in less populated areas became more dangerous. And I'm not saying that is where the Treasure Valley is headed, but it is at a point of inflection that I would say we need to be careful because it can turn on a dime. Idahoans don't see what is happening right under their noses here in our state capital. Boise has a bad case of the liberal flu that is spreading westward, just like at their commitment to being a welcoming city, which is liberal speak for a sanctuary city. Taxes continue to climb. And, it's happening while I speak in both Boise and Meridian. We have a state that has doubled its budget from $6 to $14.5 billion in just 7 years. We've seen a state government go from 23 agencies to 189. Every year we hear that Idaho is the least regulated state, but that is a lie, and even Mercatus, the company that did the survey, admits that. We complain about high gas prices and gouging because our legislature stopped any future inquiries into the gouging years ago. Idahoans are paying $400 million a year from their tax dollars to support education, medical costs, and food for illegals because the ag cartel and corporate mafia of Iaki don't want to pay living wages to Idahoans. So they got legislation passed through their lackey representatives who are bought and paid for to make taxpayers subsidize their labor costs. You think we are a conservative state, my friend? That is a myth. When recently we found that 5 of our elected constitutional officers, including the governor and lieutenant governor, came out to support Senator Guthrie, a legislator who claims to be a Republican, but votes 83% of the time with Democrats and tried 3 times to get driver's license for illegals.
Oh, and you and I fought him on that again and again and again. And you're right. It's a fascinating thing. Now you have to admit, except for the New York stuff, I'm not giving opinions. I had our reporter Greg Pruitt do it. So trying to stay out of your doghouse.
Greg, pretty much, he and I stood shoulder to shoulder for many years, going back with the Tea Party.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, as chairman of the State Agricultural Affairs Committee, our good friend, Senator Guthrie, has held hostage in his desk drawer 3 bills that pertain to illegal immigration in our state. Idaho is not immune from a socialist virus that is slowly spreading throughout the valley. And the handwriting basically is on the wall. The liberal virus is here and continues to spread, and judging from the 30% of Republicans who showed up to vote in the last primary.
Yeah, but you got to go out and sell it. And I don't know if there's a salesman good enough to do that because life is so good here. People are very, it's the Troopus quote, but people are very happy and here's the other one. Without Donald Trump, it doesn't appear that this batch of Republicans, national and local, have that same fervor. He is the draw. It's kind of like you with the ladies. When you and I go out to lunch, you love the ladies. You're the draw.
Well, I may love the ladies, but I hate the virus that I detect.
Yeah.
in the schools with woke teachings, in our corporations that require.
But then that goes back to the State Board of Education, which you and I have litigated endlessly.
No, this goes back to our governor making rules and regulations he had no right to do. In fact, he even went to the legislature and he tried to get immunity.
Yeah, but wait a minute. We can go back to the pandemic and nobody opposed him. You know who opposed him? Hold on. You and me.
Kevin,
you and me,
that's
Bob.
What I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's exactly where I'm going with this whole thing. Nobody opposes. Nobody says anything. I mean, they're like a bunch of sheep being led to slaughter. And it drives me nuts. You wonder why I moved up here? It's because it's away from the slaughterhouse. And that's what's going to happen down there. And by the way, Mark from Eagle, you're 100% right about Wall Street. It is a casino today. But it didn't used to be. They changed it. They gamed it. And it's a lot more difficult to make money anymore unless you just buy and hold and pray it doesn't go down. Kevin, we are in very tumultuous times. I just wanted to give you my opinion. I look at it from the outside, and I'm telling you, I do not like what's happening in this state, and it scares the living garbage out of me.
Well, we love you, Tea Party Bob. I got to run.
Take care, my friend. Have a good day.
You too. 580-KIDO. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Couple of announcements. We're back on the road, being a part of Idaho's one of the biggest shows in the West, in the country, really. Saturday, we've been giving tickets away. A little good news. We're going to be there. We'll be introducing Julia Cole, not to be confused with Julia Child, God rest her soul. And then we will be introducing Everclear, and we look forward to hanging out with everybody, having a great time. So many Boise music festivals over the years. I marvel at it. We look at these things as institutions, but the people that make it happen, and whether you are someone who has a food truck, the carnival person, working MAV security guard Mike, our friend Todd, who's not going to be there this year, or others, we would love for you to join us, or the sponsors, the partners. Thank you very much for being a part of this event, allowing us to do this. And the people that work at our broadcast center that sell it. So thank you for that. And we'll all be working. We all work it. Say what you want about this crew. I'd put them up against anybody in the country. No one will ever outwork the Boise crew here. Whether, whatever, when there's a challenge, we all come together. So we're looking forward to throwing you the biggest party in the state of Idaho. And I'd say we rival anything in Seattle or Portland or anything else. So that's one. Number two, we are confirmed from, the first production is Mike Owens Promotions. The second production is Ugo Promotions, in cooperation with Bo and Sweet William. Less than 24 hours after Boise Music Festival, we will be part of one of the most patriotic, largest bike rides in America, courtesy of High Desert Harley Davidson. We'll be right next to the Sausage Biscuits, as we always are. We look forward to hopefully seeing Jerry, formerly of Middleton, but moved back to Emmett, Bruce, Shay, a few other folks that join us for Idaho Patriot Thunder. You can still go and sign up. Proceeds go to Idaho veterans. They actually launched the thing with a cannon. It's so big. It's so significant. It's so huge that they have the state police, the Meridian police. They close portions of the interstate because they ride to Mountain Home. You get out, you have lunch. I think they have a band or something now in Mountain Home, and then you come back, and then they have, I will tell you, the folks at High Desert Harley Davidson, they really have created this unique, I'm so impressed with their outreach and their marketing. It's insane in a good way. All right, yesterday he was a bad Liberal Steve, so he's on a very short leash. Liberal Steve joins us now with Kevin Miller at 580-KIDO.
Nothing better when you're walking in bad weather to have a short leash on your dog. Kevin, you prepare yourself, you and your listeners, and actually all of America. Tonight is the night during the Brazil versus Scotland over there in Miami Gardens. Above everybody in the stadium, there's going to be a giant mothership. All my relatives will be on board, and they're going to take 700 people and players back home with them.
Maybe you.
People will just be astounded.
Are they taking you? Are they taking you?
Yes, of course they're taking me.
So you're done. So we're never going to see you ever again.
No, you'll see me again, but it'll be in a different form and a different shape. And I want to thank MAGA for ruining the lives of everybody in the world. Everybody.
What type of shape are you going to be in? That of an amoeba?
No, more of a spiritual Kevin Miller orb-looking heart.
Like a potato.
Like a pink potato.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, pink potato, yeah.
But anyway, they're coming tonight, and you heard it here first on the Kevin Miller Show. And tomorrow you can say, by God, Martha, that liberal Steve, that hybrid, he was right on. Right on.
We'll miss you.
With that, I say, I love you.
Well, we love you too, and we'll miss you. So breaking news, liberal Steve is going home, and the aliens are coming for him. And if you remember this song, you lived in a good America. They're coming to take me away, haha. They're coming to take me away.
Okay, so Dana, we read it as a win for the Trump administration, which has wanted to wipe out temporary protected status for more than 1 million people who are living here in this country. These cases centered on a number of Haitian and Syrian refugees who were here in the country. And basically what the court has said is that they can't challenge this decision by the Department of Homeland Security, by the administration, that they're the ones who get to make the assessment about whether.
And more with breaking news as it happens. We go live to the White House with Jared Halpern of Fox News Radio. Here we have it, Supreme Court season in full force.
Yeah, and they're going to go into some overtime, it would appear, because there are still 8 cases remaining. They'll have at least a couple of opinion days scheduled next week. Traditionally, the justices try and get done before the end of June. That seems unlikely. They'll slide probably into July. Probably not too much into July. I'm sure all of them have July 4th plans I'd like to get to. But it shows kind of how long it can take to kind of build consensus needed for a majority opinion. And so many of the opinions now that have come out over the last couple of days, including some today, have been 6-3, kind of right along those ideological lines. Those historically take the longest to write. Justices kind of pass back and forth, draft opinions and draft dissents and work on those and try and build momentum and build consensus. And so it can take some time. And these are tough issues that remain unresolved for the justices, including that challenge to birthright citizenship that President Trump has put forward. There are outstanding issues still on campaign finance reform. There are outstanding issues on how to handle transgender athletes. So these are weighty issues that are going to have a big impact, not just on policy at the state level, but certainly politics of the midterm elections. And the justices do not work in a vacuum, and they are certainly cognizant of that and aware of the calendar in front of them. So we will wait. More opinions are coming certainly on Monday, probably a couple of other days next week, and we'll see kind of how it plays out here over the next few days.
Pretty wild when you think about it. Before we get to more of this and its political impact, let's talk a little bit about last night's big kickoff. Were you there? I mean, you must live at the White House if you were.
I was not there. I was back home, although the B-2 flyover flew over my backyard, which was cool. And I heard the flyover of the F-35s, but by the time you hear an F-35, generally it is long gone. And so that sadly was the case. But listen, this was something that President Trump has kind of looked forward to. It's kind of the kickoff to his July 4th celebrations. He will certainly have that big rally on July 4th on the National Mall. He is going to go to Mount Rushmore next week, or week, I think July 2nd, July 1st, for a big fireworks show and these flyovers and military bands. And so, listen, I think that this is something that President Trump really relishes. He's able to kind of mix those festivities with some of the talking points and the political campaigning that he aims to do. I think the downside is you have seen folks kind of view a lot of these celebrations now through that political lens, as often is the case whenever President Trump is involved. So I think what I'm going to be looking to see in my reporting, especially as we get closer to July 4th, is kind of if there are any clear partisan divides and kind of who's attending these events and who isn't.
Yeah. And then we have the midterms. Could this politically help the president, these Supreme Court decisions? I know we have a long way to go, but these two help his base, don't they?
I mean, I think it'll depend, right? Let's see kind of what these rulings are. I think a couple of opinions today help the president because there were two rulings today that validated some of his immigration issues that Democrats have opposed. One allows TPS, that temporary protective status, to end for migrants from Haiti and Syria. That is something that had been challenged, and whether or not the administration could do that, the Supreme Court said they could. There was another ruling today that allows the administration to continue that policy of turning asylum seekers away if they do not physically reach the United States border. In other words, they don't actually enter the United States. And whether or not immigration law kind of allowed them to claim asylum before they reached the border. That was validated by the Supreme Court as well. So that may help politically only because, you know, the president talks a lot about the steps that he has taken to close down the border. And those are two steps that the president has taken that he says help in that regard. That being said, the border is not a top issue right now for voters. The economy is, and the war in Iran and tariffs and inflation, I think, are going to be far more important. So politically, the president certainly has a lot of political pressure on kind of what the resolution here looks like with Iran, long-term, short-term, what that means for oil prices, what that means for gas prices, fuel, fertilizer, all of those things that have been driving up cost the last several months, starting to come back down, but it can be a lagging effect. And so certainly I think how quickly prices kind of resettle will have a much bigger impact on the midterm elections than what we kind of expect from the Supreme Court. I think long-term, some of these campaign finance rulings, redistricting rulings from the court will have a big impact on our politics. They're just not going to have a big impact in 2026. They're much more likely to have a bigger impact in 2028.
Jared, anything else we may have missed?
The one thing we're going to be looking for today is President Trump is meeting here at the White House with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, see if they can maybe get this housing bill back on track. Recall President Trump was supposed to sign this big bipartisan Housing Affordability Act yesterday. They had everything signed, ready to go at the Capitol. There was going to be a big ceremony, and then before the president left, he said, I'm not going to sign it until the Save America Act is passed, which is not going to happen, certainly in the United States Senate under current circumstances. And so we'll see if the speaker is able to maybe get that bill back on track or move it forward, because it is something that Republicans, especially in the House, who are running for re-election, would like to run on. And so we'll see how that looks moving forward.
Jared, we appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.
Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. News right now. This is insane.
Of certain migrants living with temporary protected status. There are a bunch of them, and Shannon Bream joins us again with more. Shannon, how do we read this one?
Okay, so Dana, we read it as a win for the Trump administration, which has wanted to wipe out temporary protected status for more than 1 million people who are living here in this country. These cases centered on a number of Haitian and Syrian refugees who were here in the country. And basically what the court has said is that they can't challenge this decision by the Department of Homeland Security, by the administration, that they're the ones who get to make the assessment about whether they leave or not. I haven't read the whole thing, but they do get into some of the claims that by some of those who are advocating for the Haitian refugees, that there was some kind of racial animus. The court says they don't see evidence of that. So I'll keep reading, but it's another very fractured decision that seems to be a win for the Trump administration, which would be the second win for them on immigration. That earlier decision that we talked about that came out just a few minutes ago saying that if you get to the Mexico border, but you don't make it onto U.S. soil, you can't file an asylum claim. So the Trump administration has to be happy about what they've gotten today. We've still got 8 opinions left. And
insanely good if you love America. So we'll continue to break these down. But the Haitians, the Syrians are out. And by the way, how insane was the policy that if you just made it to Mexico, it was all good in the hood? Are you kidding me? And now all of a sudden, again, it's not about the socialists. It's not about this. It's not about that. It's about restoring American sovereignty. By the way, this just in as well. The stock market continues to surge. Although, again, I will show my populist tendencies. I don't believe the stock market is Main Street. It may be Wall Street, but it's not Main Street. GDP growth up 2.1% last year, higher than the previous 1.6% reading, and above Q4's readings of 0.5%. So, as we've said before, this is great news for America, great news for everyone else, and it looks like the end of the temporary protected status for those who have been living and working in the United States when we're talking about the Haitians and the Syrians and everyone else. Now, I'm sure Mandami and Shmandami and everybody else will be sounding off about this. And, if you love the Second Amendment, you're going to love this one. The Supreme Court did strike down Hawaii's default ban on guns on private property that's open to the public. So, in other words, a convenience store, a mall cannot ban you from carrying your weapon if you go with the Supreme Court ruling. We'll explain that as well. And then we have Mandami, who's, circling the drain. And we have to take a look at 580-5436-580 KIDO. What type of country do you have? Do you have a country judged and run by someone like President Trump or Mandami, the commie?
In D.C. right now, I want to bring Fallon Gallagher into this conversation. She's outside the Supreme Court. Fallon, walk us through the decisions we've gotten so far and what we're expecting.
Yeah, Steph. So we've gotten 3 cases today, and those 3 are in the sort of bottom tier of the 12 cases that we have left. 8 of those cases are really, really big. But I want to talk about 2 of the big ones that we've gotten so far. One of them has to do with gun rights. There's a law in Hawaii that basically says if you are a gun owner even if you conceal carry and you're going onto a privately owned public space, so think like a restaurant or a hotel or a parking lot or a grocery store, you need to get express permission from that private property to actually bring your gun. The justices are saying that law violates the Second Amendment. This is a big loss for gun control rights, but not entirely surprising. It was a 6-3 split with along ideological lines. So, of course, the conservative majority there saying that this violates the Second Amendment.
And by the way, another one just hitting us as we do this in real time. We'll take your calls at 580-KIDO. This impacts a lot of folks. The U.S. Supreme Court, in its infinite wisdom, voted 7-2 that Monsanto, the manufacturer and distributor of Roundup, cannot be held liable for failing to inform consumers of the alleged cancer risks of its weed killer. The decision, 7-2 by Brett Kavanaugh, held that federal laws regulating sale and labeling of pesticides do not permit lawsuits in state courts because the EPA has repeatedly concluded that the geophosphate, the active ingredient in its weed killer, is not likely to cause cancer. Wow. Does that mean we're not going to have more of those ads coming up in the Idaho legislature anymore? That was a lot of money. However, members of the Make America Healthy Again community tell the Daily Caller in a statement that the decision takes away the rights of those who have suffered from the exposure to hold Monsanto legally accountable. The Supreme Court's ruling in favor of foreign chemical companies, which essentially allows them immunity from lawsuits, is a travesty against the American Constitution and federal and state laws, said Zen Honeycutt, Moms Across America, adding the decision was an attack on the Seventh Amendment and allows for continued poisoning of Americans and their soil. Similarly, Elizabeth Kucinich, a human and ecological security specialist and former director of policy at the Center for Food Safety, said the ruling sets a dangerous precedent by elevating regulatory approval above judicial review and the citizens' access to justice. So there again, SCOTUS is coming in hot and heavy. The president's decision to end deportation protection is not racist. The Supreme Court ruled the government move was not overtly racist. So again, we are rolling. And by the way, a lot of liberal vampires and their laws are going down today, thanks to the United States Supreme Court. And again, who got those people in, as wonderful or as flawed as they are? That would be Donald John Trump. Now, will the good times continue on? We'll see how that plays out. But again, back to the Monsanto thing. Apparently now you cannot sue them for the alleged cancer connection, 7-2, if you will. So, again, pretty wild stuff here. I really don't know how you top that, except you have a lot of liberals trying to sell books, a lot of liberals trying to, push back against the president, if you will, and you have people speculating he has nothing to lose. Well, I will tell you this. If the president truly has nothing to lose, then we're going to see more aggressiveness when it comes to keeping America safe. We continue to monitor the Supreme Court, and when we have stuff, we will get it to you right away. CNN, the network that is continued to trying to find itself, hoping that no one there loses their job, no one there is given the boot for their coverage, because once they're taken over by the Ellisons, there's going to be changes. See CBS for a reference. CNN, once again, trying to appear to be fair and balanced. I don't know if they have an interest in the Maggie Haberman, Jonathan Swan book, but let's take a listen.
The White House wants something to run on in the midterms, and they realize how bad the numbers are. And in y'all's new book, Maggie, y'all write about the political strategy right now and how it differs from the first term. At one point you say, quote, to the extent that he still cared about polling at all, he is seeing far fewer polls than during his first term. His advisors knew he was not receptive to being briefed on harsh realities. In his second term, unlike his first, he was willing to take breathtaking risks that could throw not only his presidency, but the Republican Party and the entire world into chaos and carnage. More than ever before as president, he was operating on pure gut instinct. Do you think that's what he's doing now? And do you think it matters if that gut instinct hurts Republicans who are on the ballot?
Well, look, yes, I do think that what we are seeing right now is very in line. On the one hand, yes, it's similar to what we saw in term one, just in terms of sort of a sense for his party and some of his own staff of being erratic, but is definitely consistent with trusting his gut more than ever, and certainly doing something that just doesn't support what his advisors have said he needs to be doing, and what they are seeing in their own polls. One of we got our hands on some polling memos, some confidential polling memos inside the Trump team, and one was from December when his own pollster circulated a memo, and it was this after Trump had done an affordability speech, or what it was supposed to be an affordability speech, where instead he called affordability a con job and started suggesting again Democrats were responsible for coming up with this term, and that this was not fair to him. That it used the term, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was the White House and the GOP, if they wanted to make gains in the midterms and not suffer, they needed to be quote unquote honest with voters about the affordability crisis and try to find a way to deal with it. This bill was supposed to deal with that, and the president just wasn't interested. So does the president care? He's not behaving like somebody who cares. Maybe he will start to at some point, but he is not right now, and I'm not sure whether he particularly believes he will suffer consequences. Again, this is something else we talk about in the book, if the House and even possibly the Senate flip.
There we have it. 580-5436-580 KIDO. We're going to continue to bag on the president. More coming up next. 580 KIDO. Calls. Let's take a nice, wonderful break and go out to Camp Rainbow Gold and speak with Dale. Dale, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So are you at the camp right now, Dale?
Yes, that is correct. Yep. Still here for another day. The campers go home tomorrow. And it's been a great week for us so far.
Well, what's been so good about it? The rest of us are working, and obviously you guys are doing wonderful work. Does it feel like work there?
Well, my job here is I'm one of the volunteers, and they give me the job of transporting the campers around the campsite here. It's a pretty large site, and they have a lot of different activities, archery, mountain biking, ropes course, things like that. So I get to move around what they call the people hauler, and it's a wonderful time. I have a great time with the kids interacting and everything, and I get to tell bad dad jokes to them while I have them on the people hauler.
Well, that's a lot of responsibility, and yet you guys sign up for this all the time. Why is it important to support Camp Rainbow Gold, Dale?
Well, in my mind, they do so much for the kids. The campers, when they come up here, they can forget all their troubles, all the daily worries that they have, because the camp is about kids with cancer. And this camp that's going on right now is the teen camp, and that's the only one I've been at. This is my second year with it. But they have family camp and kids camp and sibling camp. And the whole idea is to just support the kids and the families that are involved with somebody who has cancer. And it's just such an amazing place. They have a motto here: they shine, not shade. And that means that everything is positive. We don't have any negativity. We just concentrate on the positive side of things. And it's just a wonderful environment up here.
What do y'all need?
The camp runs strictly on donations. So it's a nonprofit organization, and donations and getting people involved with it. Somebody wants to get involved, they can get all the Camp Rainbow Gold and sign up to be a counselor and go through the proper channels that way. I got involved. My daughter's been involved with the camp for a few years. She's the art director. She's on the board of the camp. And my wife and I came up last year for our first time and fell in love with the place. And we're here again and hopefully keep coming back in the future, because it's such a wonderful camp, wonderful environment. And the kids have so much fun. I love interacting with the campers a lot and everything. And we play games, all kind of activities with them. And volunteering is a big thing. And of course, donation to the camp, because it literally runs completely on donations.
Well, we always want to support those who support Camp Rainbow Gold. Dale, anything else you'd like to share with us?
I just, if somebody's out there, get involved. Every little donation helps, because the big thing is this camp is 100% free to the campers. They pay absolutely nothing. And I know there's one child that lives in Alaska, and he gets flown down on Angel Flight so he can attend the camp. And it's completely free to the kids, to the family, everything. So a lot of donations are needed for this camp to keep it operational, and asking people to get involved however they can. Every little bit helps.
And what change has it made in your life?
I think I get more out of this, I think, than the kids do, than the campers do. To see these kids, some of them are still doing treatment currently, and to see them struggle, but to come up with such a positive attitude. I mean, it takes a lot out of them. Some of them get tired very easily, and we have to take lots of breaks. And that's where, I come in to transport them around if they're too tired to try to make the trek somewhere, I come in and I get to drive them around and everything. And they're so positive with everything going through their life. It's amazing how positive these campers still can remain.
Well, Dale, we appreciate you taking a break to join us here.
Well, appreciate you guys, too. I know you're big supporters of Camp Rainbow Gold, and I would encourage anybody else out there that get involved. Try to get involved any way they can.
Dale, hey, Dale, you're a hero, and we appreciate you, brother. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, my man Dale, excellent job. Great job, Dale. Outstanding work. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate Dale making time. Very emotional. That's why we urge you to support our friends at Camp Rainbow Gold. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. As we've said before, Camp Rainbow Gold, supported by local folks making a big difference. And when we're talking about making a big difference, how about our friends at Treasure Valley Subaru? They're introducing the new Outback. And by the way, they proudly support Camp Rainbow Gold. And they've got the new 2026 Subaru Outback. And they know exactly where you can get an up-close personal view with it. Their place, Treasure Valley Subaru. I've had a chance to personally test drive the Subaru Outback, and I will tell you, it almost drives itself. But you don't want it to drive itself because it's really fun to drive. And oh, by the way, Subaru Love never looked so good with this launch event going on between now and July 7th. Come in, check out the 80 brand new Subaru Outbacks and take part. One of them has your name on it. Yes, it's true. Take part in the ultimate off-road test drive experience on Treasure Valley Subaru's exclusive off-road test track. It's a perfect way to see what the new Outback can really do for you, with you, and your family, and protect you. And if you decide to buy, here's a special offer only from Treasure Valley Subaru, Idaho's #1 Subaru dealership in 2025. Buy for $1 down and 0% financing for up to 75 months on any new Subaru Outback. That's right, $1 down and 0% financing for up to 75 months. Plus, you'll find the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore, Treasure Valley Trucks, and Treasure Valley Service Center all together on one giant lot at the Idaho Center Auto Mall and online at treasureValleySubaru.com. See the all-new 2026 Subaru Outback only at, well, I guess you could see it, but at our preferred place, Treasure Valley Subaru. Amazing work that they do there. We thank them for always helping our great community. The feedback, the reaction, the cascading waterfall of content continues as we're breaking this down. The Supreme Court, boom. And one thing that the final few years of President Trump's run, we're going to see a lot of this stuff that will have lasting effects, lasting impacts, where you're not going to be able to park people in Mexico and say they have, what do they have? They have the same rights as people that get to our borders. It's not the same. It is truly not the same. And oh, what, by the way, internationally, day 3 of the talks between Israel and Lebanon set for today. The Iranians doing what the Iranians always do, trying to float this little vibe, if you will, saying, well, you know, what we really need to do is we're going to charge for the strait. We cannot allow that. I don't believe that the president will allow that, even whatever the fake news will tell you about again and again. So where do we go from here? Let us reconfigure, and we'll get ready for the last run of this program. Not entirely, just today. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO.
Good morning, sir. Hope you're having a great day there at KIDO. We're talking about socialism and what happened back there in New York, and this move. I think what we're actually seeing is a move by a group that the media explodes into, like a massive population of people believe, like the idiots on The View, the old cackling hens that want to push this Democrat Socialist Party here in the United States. They're like the LGBTQ. They're a small force, a small amount of the population of this country, but somehow the media, because it is controlled by the deep state here, and I'm going to lead into what I'm calling about here, and that is I want people to go to breitbartnews.com. Scroll down. You're going to see a very interesting article. Brits visiting U.S. for the first time for World Cup apologize to Americans. We owe America a huge apology. There is a number of videos, Instagram ones, you can click on there and listen to what the people are saying about how their own media over there in Europe has lied to them. Their own globalist government puppets, whether it be England, France, Spain, any of the other European countries that are controlled by these globalist puppets like Zelensky in Ukraine, who was put there by the globalists, how they lie about America. You'll see a number of stories you can click on about how they have been lied to over there about what we and how the people are here in America. It's a total opposite of what they were basically given by their own media and government over there. It's the same thing that is happening here in America by the Demon Rat Party, the deep state, the intelligence community here, the media that is controlled by the deep state, lying to us about how bad America is. And who is giving the power to these small groups, whether it be the LGBTQ movement or the Democrat Socialists of America Party? It's your scumbag lying alphabet networks here. They're going to make them look bigger than what they are. You know, Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister, proved how powerful that media propaganda can be in infiltrating and infecting the minds of stupid people who can't think for themselves in this world. And we're seeing it before our very eyes, and if for some reason people don't learn from the past, they keep repeating the same mistakes. So here we are, you know, fast forward ahead from World War II and Hitler's Germany, and here we have still lying propaganda media, not only in Europe and around the world. I mean, this is straight. We have it here in America. It's just like what you see in communist China or North Korea, where they lie and withheld from the people within their own country's borders what's going on in the outside world. And you think, well, geez, we have people that go to Europe and the Europeans that come here. How come they don't get the word out? Because they're a small group of people compared to the masses of population of either this country or over there in Europe that can't see how America truly is and what they're trying to do to destroy our country. That's why you have people who have come here to this country decades ago illegally and warned us, because they came from former communist bloc countries, the dangers of socialism/communism and what it has done to their country and ruined it. And I just want to bring that out for what it's worth, but it's a great story, and I suggest people go to Breitbart.com and click further down on that story and click on those videos and see what people have to say. They were totally blown away about how America actually is and how they were lied to in their own country. So you have a great sunshine day there at KIDO, Kevin.
We move on to Tea Party Bob. Thank you, Mark. Good morning. You're on 580 KIDO. Hello, TPB.
Well, good morning, Mr. Miller. You seem to be a bit feisty this morning, I would say.
Well, what do you mean by that?
You're just, in one of those kind of quirky moods of yours that you get in every once in a while. What do you mean by that, Tea Party Bob? You know what I mean.
No,
anyway.
I don't.
Oh, yes, you do. It's when you start ranting and raving about everybody who gets on that didn't say what you wanted them to say.
Oh.
Everybody has an opinion, Kevin. We just have to listen to them. Let me get through a few things here first, and then we'll get to the state budget. The Supreme Court ruling on the guns, absolutely great. The fact that they're no longer going to allow asylum in our borders, also great. And you're right about one thing. The appointment of justices to the Supreme Court is one of the most important things that a president can do. And I only wish we could vote for judges in Idaho and know what they do and how they act, but we know nothing about them. In fact, we had to vote for almost 10 or 12 of them this last election and knew nothing about what they were. And there's only one person, of course, for each judgeship, so you don't get very much of a choice. And finally, we're seeing the end of the closing of the border permanently with this new ruling. I want to go after the legislators that are finally talking about tax relief by eliminating property taxes in Idaho. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times. And of course, the first complaint comes from the left. Our good friend Alana Rubel, the Democratic House Minority Leader, who's already crying the blues, saying, "How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that?" Let us remember that we have seen our state budget double in the past 7 years. And I believe that most taxpayers would not call that a budget plan. And if our legislators really wanted to get rid of the property tax, it would take savings of about $2.2 billion. And if you would allow me, here are the simplest ways to get that money. May I have this time? Is that okay with you?
I don't know. Are you going to be entertaining or not?
I'm always entertaining.
Or is it just going to be one of your, that's the problem with you people, is that when you ask legitimate questions or you get in the way of every, now, see, here's the deal. See what I'm saying? It was very easy to trigger him, folks. Do you see what I'm saying? We sit there and go, you question some of these folks, and all of a sudden they get very defensive. In other words, they can dish it out, but they can't take it.
Yeah, if you were in the Tea Party, you'd be standing outside waiting for the meeting to be over.
Wow.
Anyway. Yes. Wow. Anyway, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. You want to cut that money? Simple. Immigration and related discretionary spending, $100 to $150 million. The launch program, which actually does nothing but help the corporations decide where they want education so they can hire these kids, $75 million. Digital Learning Academy elimination, $27 million. It's nothing more than a state-run IT program, my friend. How about corporate tax expenditure reform? Like the money we give them, literally, that we don't give to our taxpayers who are just plain citizens. Then, of course, there's the $50 million we gave for the AI project. That was the dumbest thing I ever heard of. And how about medical expansion, repeal of Medicaid expansion? That's up to $130 million. So if you took all of the COVID spending baseline and brought it back to a baseline, it could save $500 million to $1 billion. And now you're looking at $800 to $1.6 billion that's savable. Doesn't quite cut it, but it sure does come a lot closer than what anybody else is talking about. What I'm saying is we do nothing but raise taxes here. We do nothing but spend money here. Think about this. The legislature has voted 61% of the time to increase the budget. And if you look at 2027, right now, we're looking at almost $1 billion that we're going to be short. So I would say we don't have anything but a spending problem in Idaho. You want to fix the problem? Get legislators in that aren't going to be doing the bidding of the corporate and agricultural cartels and the 700 lobbyists who are down at the bloody State House every day buying breakfast, lunch, and dinners for those who want to be a little larger than they currently are. And all I say is, Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. Let's start it in the next legislative session. Let's give them the pressure. Put the pressure on them to do this. Because if we don't, we're going to be in a hole that we can't dig ourselves out of if anything happens to this economy. That's about all I have to say, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Did you notice when you let Tea Party Bob go, then he doesn't launch his personal attacks, everybody?
Oh, excuse me, personal attacks. You've been doing a lot of personal attacking this morning yourself. Poor Al, you beat the heck out of him.
Well, Al, unlike you, who talks about issues, Al just likes to get on and, everybody's stupid. Al's the smartest ever. And he has an issue with women. And when he starts going after my friend Mark Levin, who's a good friend of mine, then I have to defend my friends just as I've defended you.
Look, you have to admit he's a lot more entertaining than Mark from Boise.
Yeah, but again, I no. Al is leading the field in complaints. It's the signal problems and then Al. Although sometimes Al's even good that he even eclipses the people complaining about the signal. And then we have people complaining about the app. And it's funny. I look at complaints as people care. If they didn't care, they wouldn't complain. So,
by the way,
they complain about Al. You complain about the app. You complain about people complain about the signal.
No.
And you guys are right.
I haven't complained about the app in over 2 weeks. You know why? Your people actually fixed it. I spent the time to go through it with them. They actually fixed the problem. It doesn't go out anymore. Isn't that amazing?
Well, that's great. Maybe you should call them up and tell them about the signal now.
I sent them an email and said, thank you very much. It's working. Whatever they did, it's working.
Well, I'm glad the app's working.
Fixed. Yeah.
No, I don't know what happened. I don't know. And it's really not my job to know, but when people call me, and as many of you know, I'm tapped in. I mean, people and they hold me accountable. And as I've told you, I go, it's not my job.
You're going to be held accountable regardless because you're the one.
You're right about that. You are. Hold on. You are. Hold on. Thank you for the call. You are exactly right. I am the face of the franchise, and I'm the one that's held accountable for it. And when your livelihood is based on it, pretty tough. Speaking of tough, let's go to. Thank you. But when we say thank you, that means he's got to go. Thank you very much. Let's go to a person running for Congress in New York. This is Claire Valdez with a very inspirational and important 4th of July message for everyone.
In a different way. We hear all these, white conservative men talk about who does and does not belong here. And look, this nation was founded on genocide and the mass displacement of people.
Now, by the way, this podcast is called you've heard the word situation, and you've heard the term Situation Room. Get rid of the S and put a B. No, not the Wituation Room, but pronounce the B, and you know what I'm talking about. That's the name of this podcast. So, and it breaks my heart when we have people that are doing everything that they can to destroy the fundamental history of this nation. So if you listen to this lady, if you're a white man that loves America, you are a bad person. And she's going to talk about genocide and mass displacement of people, but it really comes down to whoever has the superior firepower, the superior whatever you want to call it, that's who wins historically. Not people that just kind of, peace, love, and understanding. You go back to, and you can read before the French and Indian Wars, you can read about the scholarly work about the wars with the Native Americans. They butchered and slaughtered people just like everybody else. But you don't get that from these folks.
Just the history. And to say that some people cannot belong here, it's like, come on. Like,
yeah,
you know,
you can leave first is what you mean.
You can show yourself the door. This is a nation that that should be welcoming people here, that want to the people who come here to build better lives and for themselves and their families, to deserve real dignity, deserve to stay here.
Right, but with dignity, it's like going to a restaurant. I think coming to America, if we could give you a correct analogy on this, coming to America is like fine dining. You want to be respected. I mean, she's talking about these things, but you're not entitled to it. You're not entitled to live in a nice house. You're not entitled to our taxpayer dollars. You're not entitled not to speak English. And when we have these folks, and again, we bag on old people all the time, but old people have a tremendous amount of life experience. Unfortunately, the young people, like this young lady, this misguided lady, who could be a congresswoman from New York, I don't know if there's enough money to send to the Republicans to in the stores, they call it a loss leader to just wipe this out.
In a different way. You know, we hear all these, white conservative men talk about who does and does not belong here. And look, this nation was founded on genocide and the mass displacement of people. It's just the history. And to some people cannot belong here, it's like, come on. Like, you
can leave first is what you mean.
You can show yourself the door. This is a nation that that should be welcoming people here, that want to the people who come here to build better lives and for themselves and their families, to deserve real dignity, deserve to stay here, and we should be welcoming them. So just gives.
We deserve. By the way, this is Claire Valdez, just in time for the 4th of July, and we have to fight this. We have to fight it with not, a fist, but the clearly. The benefit of education and knowledge and patriotism. I mean, what did she learn in school?
Now, under this SAVE Act, real ID that shows citizenship is required. Only 5 states have real ID that shows citizenship. Pennsylvania is not one of them. So remember all the harassment you had to go through to get real ID? If you did, because only half of us have it still. You'd have to go through more to get that kind of real ID just to register to vote. So it is an extra layer that is unnecessary. Every study that's ever been done shows that non-citizens are not voting in our elections. And so it's another way to stir up fear. It's another way to keep people from voting. So here in Pennsylvania.
Keep people from voting? You need your ID for everything else. How about to protect the Republic?
We know people don't have real ID. People don't have passports. You
don't have a passport. You don't have real ID. What can you do? I guess I don't even know if you could take a bus. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much. God bless. Keep the faith. Kevin Miller loves you. We'll see you at the Boise Music Festival.
KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM and 580 AM.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4th of July sale and get 30% off paints and stains June 26th through July 6th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
There are 2 types of business owners, those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.